Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people.
Has been, what can be, unburdened by what has been. 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 What we can see, what we believe can be, unburdened by what has been. What 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 can be, unburdened by what has been. Who we can be, unburdened by who we have been. What can be, unburdened by what has been. Where we can be, unburdened by where we have been, and unburdened by where we are right now. What can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, unburdened by what has been. What could be, unburdened by what had been. What can be, unburdened.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people.
Has been, what can be.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Morbid Symptoms podcast. This is the Red Election special, the U.S. Game of Thrones, 2024 season finale, perhaps. Hello, Tony.
Hello. Long time no talk.
Yeah, I know. It's been a while. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I just came from being accosted by one of the blue MAGA people. He would not let me leave.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's a long story, but
well, if you want to anyway, let me do my little shindig here. Yeah. So again, welcome to Morbid Symptoms. I'm your host, Tara Van Dyke. Tony is back with me after a bit of a hiatus, after a bit of an internet pause. Good for him, for the mental health. And we'll be joined a little bit later by Garrett, the social populist. I didn't realize that the time had changed. So the last time Garrett and I did a podcast, when it was 8 o'clock here, it was 4 o'clock there, but now it's 3 o'clock there. So he'll be joining us in a bit. But I'm glad that Tony is here. So anyway, here's the game plan for tonight. The first part is going to be kind of freestyle but fun. So just kind of the highs and lows of this last election season. The comedy and the not so much comedy on the other end, and also getting into the reaction since the red election, playing off the infamous Red Wedding episode. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Game of Thrones long extended metaphor that we've been playing with here. So we're gonna kind of recap the highs and lows of this past season. And I mean season in terms of election season, but also playing off the theater and performance and bread and circuses of it all. And then the second part, we're going to get a bit more theoretical, a bit more speculative. Okay. And look at Trump's return to the White House and the Republicans controlling the Congress, both houses of Congress, and of course, a conservative Supreme Court. But this election reveals more than a simple political shift, a red wave. We're going to think about it in terms of a morbid symptom, following up on, leveraging Gramsci. So underscoring that how it underscores both the failures of liberalism and the populist forces that are emerging to fill in that void. So while MAGA channels significant discontent, it could be a transitional, it will be a transitional form. But what comes afterwards is a big question mark. And if Trump, I kind of think of Trump as a type of vanishing mediator, that he's not going to be that's not the real, the big important story here is what comes is what comes next. So if a different form can be channeled, rather than right now, there's kind of what would we call it, like a right-wing populism form for this discontent, and there's a desire for change. But right now, it's kind of a nostalgic form, nationalism, right-wing kind of populism. Drain the swamp. It's just we have some bad elites and the globalists, but no real critique at all of political economic critique or Marxist critique. But the discontent obviously is there. There was the red election. Is this finally the beginning of the end or the end of liberalism? We'll see. So Trump himself could ultimately, I think he'll be a vanishing mediator, a temporary figure whose role is to catalyze looking back, to be catalyze frustration within the current system, potentially paving the way for a more left-leaning working class movement that becomes a class for itself rather than just a class in itself that gets kind of pushed around between these progressive kind of clientelist identity politics types of formations and now into a kind of a right populism. But that's the second part. But anyway, Tony, you said that you had a run-in with Blue MAGA at university today. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, actually, Tara, because now, so the background is that
And also, how are things there? Because you're in California, so there could be a lot of crying people. Yeah.
Oh, and there definitely is, and but I'll touch upon that. So I think with people like us, right? Other people can kind of sense that maybe we have a deeper sense of knowledge, maybe, of what's going on in the world. And so a classmate asked me, "Hey, I think you'd like to come to our philosophy club. Would you like to come?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" I was also kind of egged on by a female friend of mine. She's like, "Yeah, just go." And but she kind of knows me already, and reads my stuff and all that kind of stuff. And so, getting to know them, they wanted to follow me on Instagram, which is where I post on my Instagram stories, iPhone notes with with my thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
And I let them know though that it may be controversial, it may offend them in some way, because I'm coming at these things from maybe a perspective they're not used to. So they've been reading my stuff, and for over the last week, they've been waiting till after either certain things end to ask if they can speak with me one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
And when they speak with me one-on-one, that's when they ask me if I'm anti-gay and all this kind of stuff, and I have to kind of break it down to them. No, I'm not anti-gay. I'm not anti, women or anything like that, which I don't personally know how that was misconstrued. But so I have to kind of explain to them these things, and then I kind of put them onto the Morbid Symptoms podcast and stuff like that. And one of them, who I've referenced to you personally last night, he wanted to speak to me, and we ended up speaking so long that I couldn't even have time to go vote. But I had to defend. So he's looking at your Twitter page or your X page, right? And he's all like, "Oh, well, she says the same things you say. She says the same things you say." And I was kind of internally, I was like, "Oh, you know what I mean?" Because it's it's me and Tara are simpatico. That's because I look up to our audience. I look up as an aspiring sociologist. I look up to Tara, who has, if I'm not mistaken, a PhD in geography, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I look up to Tara as my social scientist mentor, and so I had to defend Tara and some of the things that I've learned through Tara, and then also my own ideas within these morbid symptoms to these people, and coming to them and sort of coming to them and understanding through them the sort of how entrenched the type of liberalism that people like ourselves, this podcast, people like Haz Al-Din, Jimmy Dore, Jackson Hinkle. I think all of us really on the left, what we've kind of come to face through it all, which is this these type of people who are entrenched in a type of like you know, I'm not like has, I don't know all the big words, but like but like, you know, they're entrenched in this different type of like reality to just make it as simple for our audience, because it's hard even for me to understand it at times. But yeah, so they're pushing strong against me by like the two professors. It was actually the two professors, and they were pushing strong against me, saying like, you know, that Putin is a dictator, that there's no American. Literally, they said this, that there's no American deep state. Anthony, why do people have to be kids? Why are you, or or Anthony, why do you feel like I have to mandate for people to have kids, even though I never said that for people to have kids? I was just explaining the sociological phenomena of the contemporary, which we all, I think, on the left now more than ever, that isn't in this kind of liberal sheen. It isn't in this like pop culture kind of liberal sheen where everything is like ha 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 ha, everything is all cutesy and everything is all pretty. No, it's not all pretty, it's not all cutesy. And I was trying to articulate to them the actual social phenomena that's going on in the United States and within the Western world. And I was getting pushback because they were, and this is God's honest truth, I was asked in private by a few of them if I'm a fascist. So,
you're a fascist?
Yeah, if I'm a fascist. I was like, well,
what do you think they found fascist about your statements?
Well, they like, okay, so and I like the guy who I'm referencing, by the way. He's actually really nice.
And also, Tony, it's dark there. Do you have a light you can turn on?
I'm sorry. I have my lights on blue. Hold on. Let me turn them to white. Okay.
Unless you're trying to be in disguise, and that's
Yeah, no. I'm sorry. Well, I have like these in the living room. We have like certain sun blocking curtains. Yeah. Okay. So how's that?
Oh, there you go. That's good. Now we can see you.
Yeah. So one of them.
So you go to university in Southern California, and your classmates asked you in private if you were fascist.
Yeah, one-on-one, by the way. They all kind of, I think, but they all kind of colluded together. So this is a funny thing.
But why do you think they thought you were fascist? Why would they ask you that? I mean, everything's fascist these days, but
well, because I was going against the sort of I was frankly saying, hey, look, you know, this is an issue, not simply a mental health issue of these young men. This is an issue about these young men not experiencing what life, in my personal view, should entail, which is, you know, having a girlfriend, getting married, having children, being a part of life, you know, even at the most basic levels, like working out, going to ride a bike, going to hang out. You know, they were pushing back on that because, you know, again, to them, identity is the only freedom. And the two professors, they themselves were pushing that strongly. They don't believe, like, they're pushing this, like, where anything tangible is a taboo, and action itself is a taboo. What's not a taboo, though, is being completely abstract. Let's continue to delegitimize life by taking a hammer to everything and pretending that there's no
so they're just basically asking if you were conservative, though, because you're not a guy who's like abolished the family, and that you really think that the worst thing ever was patriarchal
right. Yeah,
heteronormativity, something or other.
Okay, so, and here's the funny thing.
But let's put a thing in that, because this is the red election episode first.
True.
Yes. And so I'm calling it the red election because playing on the Game of Thrones part of it, that with this Game of Thrones, you know, they could ask the question that in the Game of Thrones series, Daenerys came along and wanted to break the wheel. And the question is, does anybody here really want to break the wheel? Trump makes sounds like he does. So he'll say, you know, drain the swamp and whatnot. And the MAGA movement clearly thinks, or seems to think, that they're going to, break the Washington wheel, the globalist wheel, the whatever they want to call it. Although it seems that what is on offer is nothing really new. It's kind of almost like the idea that he can levy tariffs and shore up the border. And those are really the only two things you need to do. And I don't know what, and who knows? But the idea that of itself, of course, isn't really if anything, it's more reactionary than anything else.
Mhm.
But it is a political shakeup. It is, I think, the end. I hope the end of the PMC captured Democratic Party. We'll see what happens after this. What if they just try to use some different words, put a different coat of paint on that house, or if something different comes out of it, or if they just try to do the same playbook, that Trump's bad and they didn't realize how racist and sexist and stupid the country was, and how the country really let them down. And
Right. Oh, Tara.
were you surprised? So first of all, let's get your general assessment of this election season. We'll start off with the 2 days, let's say, but right before the before the Biden-Trump debate. What your any kind of idea or thought was on this?
On the mood of it, yeah.
Just whatever, because you're a millennial. You're in Southern California. You're left. I don't want to out you, but you can tell. You can apply your own labels. So what you thought about that, and then what did you think was going to happen? How did you think the election was going to play out, and then what you make thus far of the reaction?
Yeah, my initial impressions of the election, where I think a lot of us on what I would now call the sophisticated left, like the left that isn't really playing any games anymore. I think we kind of knew that Kamala,
class focused.
Yeah, we knew that Kamala was a totally sort of bankrupt individual in the sense that she had no charisma, she had no personal sort of interaction with the popular masses of our country, who on the ground here, even in California, everyone didn't like her. No one liked her when she was a district attorney here. Mm-hmm. Everyone thought that she was anti-working class because she was putting the parents of the working class in jail if their kids missed school. So no one even liked her to begin with, and people knew that it was more so a feeling of on the ground, not that lesser of two evils thing, but it was more so of a feeling of a lot of people, like my friend Ashley today. She chose not to vote, and she's on the left. She's more, well, I guess she's more of a left liberal, but she was like, no, I'm not going to vote for Kamala Harris. So there was a lot of that. That was an overarching thing. The people who were more inclined to vote Kamala Harris were basically the remnants, and this is me not speaking with a intention of a strong bias or anything, but if I was, the people who voted for Kamala or had the inclination to be gung-ho for Kamala, they were all sort of representative of the ossified, what remains of the ossified so-called enlightened middle class. Those were the only people that were sort of gung-ho, and those were also the same people who were telling me that there's no American deep state, that President Putin is a dictator, and all these kind of stuff. So those were the blue MAGA people. My own impressions of the election, I personally believed that Trump was going to win. The reason why is, and again, I think for us on the sophisticated left, I think now we acknowledge it, is that President Trump and the Republican Party through him, regardless of what we know, they are going to do something. And when you talk to the people want something tangible to exist within the reality of life. I knew that a lot of us knew that Trump was going to win because whatever he's offering it. You know what I mean? At least he's offering
something more than joy and forward, and
he's
not just Trump.
Exactly. Whatever we personally may think about the guy, his slogans are tied to a political project that people like an uncle of mine may feel an affinity for, because they're subconsciously thinking oh, this is going to lead to something, this is going to lead to something.
Well,
And
it's like you said, it's tangible, yeah. So it's like tighten up the border, put tariffs to help, I guess maybe like import substitution model. It's kind of like things that happened overseas in the 70s are now what they're going to try here. I'm not sure, but want to bring back American manufacturing, want to become more energy self-sufficient, close the border or tighten up the border, whatever it is. Tell to put some of the woke back in the Pandora's woke box. These things are, make sense. Whereas they were more like, well, basically everything's fine. And many people who don't think it's fine, their perception is skewed, or they're not educated, or they're
exactly. Thank you for saying
or racist.
Yeah, because the blue MAGA people, especially those two professors that I'm referencing, they were saying that the people that universally, like, there's no fixing the the quote unquote rednecks, that there's just something like fundamentally wrong with them and they need to be violently opposed. I'm being honest here.
They said violently?
No, but they implicitly made it seem that way.
Where are they? Who are they going to take up arms?
No,
boys.
Maybe. Right. Like, so, and then like it was just, so they had this like the ridiculousness of it was that, like, okay, so I've become friends with conservative people this year.
Mm-hmm.
They know about my actual politics, right? But funny enough, we actually have common ground. That's what's so funny, right? Okay, so one of them.
They don't ask you if you're fascist.
No. But they kind of know that I'm not, and we've had conversations about, that kind of stuff. A lot of their conservatism, quote unquote, is mainly about them just wanting a functional state. They just want a functional social fabric, which they feel is like inaccessible to them. But I've become friends with these people, and one of them, who's actually become a great friend of mine, I actually respect him a lot. He voted for Trump yesterday, and he asked me who I voted for. I was like, well, I didn't get to vote, but he told me his reasons for voting for Trump. He felt that if he didn't vote for Trump, we were going to get
it's fine. I don't worry. Most of my family voted for Trump. I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. It's okay. I briefly did in 2016 for like a month or two, and then I got over it. So it's fine. I don't buy into that he's the devil.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. Maybe he's waiting for when he turns 80, then he becomes the devil. But go ahead.
Yeah, so he told me that, and this is going to make our audience laugh. He said that he had a dream where he was on a this is going to make, and I don't think he would have a problem with me sharing this. He had a dream where he was on a plane with Trump and Trump's son Barron, and Trump told Trump's son Barron. Yeah, and he said that Trump was all like, basically, you have to vote for me, because if you don't vote for me, we're going to have nuclear war. And then then he expressed to me like how he kind of views this kind of geopolitical situation right now, and he views that it's better to vote for Trump because he feels like if we were to vote for Kamala Harris, we will, like, it's a sure thing that we're going to have a World War III. And actually, a lot of people have told me that.
Yeah.
So now are they right? I mean, who knows? I mean.
So in terms of so you thought he was going to win. I also wasn't surprised that he won. I wasn't expecting it. I don't know if I was expecting it to be so thorough, because I didn't know, because I'm so sick to my back teeth with these pretentious, woke scold, looking down on everybody, just nasty establishment liberals, whatever, that I was, so I didn't realize how much I wanted them to get this black eye, metaphorically, until I woke up yesterday and I checked my phone and I saw that he was going to win, and I immediately was like, yeah. And I thought, oh my God, I had to sit with my coffee, and be like, why am I feeling happy about this, because I'm under no illusion, at least I don't think so, consciously at least. I'm aware of I don't expect too much of him, but we'll see. I'm waiting to see who he chooses for his Secretary of State and his National Security Advisor and these types of things. If he starts putting in Pompeo and Tom Cotton and whatever, then it's like, all right, okay. Then it's all just BS. That it's not that he has any issue, quote unquote, the deep state. It's just the particular type, if it's for him or against him, or if he can wield it, or who knows what. So we'll see. Although I think we can take him at it that he does want to get out of Ukraine. The Israel thing is a big wild card. I mean, he went out of his way to try to outlove Israel with the Democrats. That was a big thing. So we'll see who he actually puts in there, and that what's going to go on, because he, looking back on 2016, his first administration, I think that was all like JV or something. He was learning the ropes and he got played a lot. It was easily corralled, I think. Put in a lot of people that didn't make sense given what he said he wanted to do. And also realizing the limitations of if you want to call it the deep state or the bureaucratic state, or the internal machinations of empire, or whatever you want to call it. There's obviously quite a bit of limits to what the president can do, unless you really have all your ducks in a row. I don't consider him somebody who is concerned with the details, that level that could really bring it all together to make serious structural change, even at what he's just saying in terms of, Elon's going to come in and cut the fat at all the bureaucracies. Yeah. And everyone's just going to let RFK do whatever RFK wants to do, as if there's nothing that, as these people don't know how to, or the institutions don't know how to protect themselves. So we'll see. But yeah, I had to think of, I realized, I'm like, oh, I really wanted the Democrats and the PMC and the fake liberals and their left cod pieces to lose more than I wanted Trump not to win. Because really, it's just, duopoly, both politics, both capitalist parties, both terrible when it comes to Israel, Palestine. But there are differences. So the silver lining to me was the Ukraine, on the Russia-Ukraine side. Hopefully he doesn't get people convincing him that Iran that it'd be any kind of good idea to go against Iran more than they already are. Hopefully less so. And of course, the gender stuff. Yeah. So the idea that it was a bad idea to make woman an open category as men. We don't have male women and female women. There's just female women and male men. And to go to try to put that back in the box, at least when it comes to Title IX and surgeries and these invasive procedures for minors. So that's also a silver lining, I think. But all the other stuff, it's like, we'll see. We'll see.
I think people on the left should have an open mind, and I'm going to explain why. I think we could actually get more concessions in a left populist way through a Trump presidency. I think if people like AOC and Bernie Sanders, if they actually knew how to run game and actually knew how to play the game, they would do with what RFK Jr. is doing, what Tulsi is doing. I think we could actually get some populist concessions through a Trump administration that isn't fully Trump isn't fully neoliberal. He does have I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Marx conceded that what he called Bonapartists do have a small progressive element within them. They do I think we can get some concessions, if more from a Trump presidency in that kind of populist way, more than like the neoliberal Democrats, basically.
Well, I think that's over. I mean, I think that we'll see how they recover from this and what they put forward. They still have a lot of money, They're still the two-party system.
Right.
The Greens didn't get anywhere near 5%. From what I understand, they did really well in a couple of districts, especially where there was a protest vote because of how terrible Kamala is and the Democrats are when it comes to Palestine, Israel Palestine. So with that, but I'm pretty sure they didn't get near the 5% that they required.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see how much if they're willing to make the same excuses for Trump as they did the last time. Yeah. So the press was all against him. There was the deep state. There was people who he put in there that were, two-faced. So they were able to, and not without any, merit to those, without any meat on those bones, but he was able to deflect with his base any responsibility for that. This time around, we'll see, because it's a clean sweep, right?
Yeah, they blew him out.
So if 2 years from now, when it's a midterm election, if no one sees anything, if no one feels that something has changed in a positive direction, then we'll see that.
Yeah, I think this is a great. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is a great, like, us as the sophisticated left, as the realistic.
You're gonna say that every time today.
I mean, I guess the left that understands.
I'm gonna get a T-shirt. Sophisticated.
Yeah, the left that understands realpolitik. I think, like Mr. McKay that you had on, and I loved that episode because it really illustrated we have to have a realpolitik kind of mindset. I think let's let us as a left, let's let the right populists, let's let them present their alternative to neoliberal capitalism. So in the meantime, we could get our own ducks in order. And so when the limits of right populism rear its head in 2 years or in 4 years, then a more organized left can come to the population and actually present revolutionary socialism, communism to the populace as an alternative to both neoliberalism and this right populist alternative. Let's play the game. Let's have that. That's why I'm honestly, like, this is what, in the past, in our past episodes when I was on, I was kind of taking shots at the MAGA comms, but no, actually now I'm actually kind of with the MAGA comm guys. Like I'm under, like, I understand the strategy. That's why I said that if AOC and Bernie Sanders, if they had the MAGA comm guys strategy, they could actually get concessions out of the Trump administration. Like, if AOC,
you still think there's any chance of that? I have no faith at all.
I mean, RFK Jr.
Bernie, we've seen what Bernie does 4 times now. We should believe him. And AOC is Junior Pelosi.
No. What I'm saying is this is the genius. This is a genius of Has and Jackson Hinkle, was when they put on the MAGA hat. They opened that they were trying to show us that we could actually get concessions through the MAGA movement. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, like, if AOC and Bernie Sanders actually would put the MAGA hat on, who gives a shit if you actually believe in it? Put the MAGA hat on so you can get into the Trump administration and get those concessions. Because Trump as an autocrat, Trump as a Bonapartist, that there is a progressive element there. And Trump's from New York. You know what I mean? Like, in the year 2000, he was pushing universal health care. So you know what I mean? So you can actually, and Trump listens to, he does listen to people. Like, you can actually have an audience with him, and he does.
Yeah, I don't think he's that ideological, but he is.
He's not. He's not. He's
like an old school liberal capitalist. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's what David Graeber said, right?
Yeah. So that's, but that's what I was trying to say with this morbid symptom thing. If you look at MAGA as a morbid symptom, it's like it highlights, it indexes the failures of liberalism, and the populist forces that are kind of that are filling the void right now. But I think this isn't an adequate, to use the form and content dialectic or an action. It's not. It certainly isn't a left form, but we can provide, and that's just a different way of saying, try to provide a different form, a different channel, a different direction for this quite authentic and correct disenchantment, disillusionment, anger, wanting to be like, up yours with all the PMC and civility politics and all this stuff. So so that's there, but the form it's in now, quite right. So I'm saying is this right populist form, but it doesn't have to be that form. But somebody has to be able to offer something, and it's certainly not going to be the Democrats.
Yeah,
and what I understand in terms of the AC, the American Communist Party, the MAGA communism thing, is that's the point they were trying to make. It's not that they were in love with Trump, or that they were secret, crypto right populists. But I think basically what they would say, and maybe say that would agree, that okay, yeah, this but it's the content that we saw possibility in the content there. We're quite aware of the problems with the form.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of that's one way of understanding it, and what I think I just said what you said in a different way.
Yeah, and I think exactly. I think when I read Haz's essay on
Hi Keith.
Yeah, when I read Haz's essay yesterday, I sent it to our little group chat. It really
I have it, but I have a bit of a program, Tony. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Yeah. I also want Garrett, who's going to join us probably in 10 minutes or so, him to be here for that as well, the social populist. So were you surprised how much they won?
No, because I'm going to say this again. And even in California, people were more emotionally tied to President Trump, as again, the people are in such desperate situations. A lot of people, the majority of people don't really have any money, and Trump has created a familial, fatherly type of feeling amongst the people. So no, I wasn't surprised that he blew him out, because again, it's on top of that. And I hate to say this, and I've had to explain it to those people at the school, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, and God knows that I'm not prejudiced and remotely to anyone. But again, it's not that our people have a problem with gay folks. Our people, we have gay folks in everything. Like our people don't have a problem with gay folks.
When you say our people, are you talking about
the American
Latinos? Are you talking about socialists? Who are you talking about?
All of us Americans.
Americans. Okay. Well, I was our people. I'm like, okay. I'm like the people. Okay.
Yeah, the people of our country, right? The people of our country. We don't the people of our country don't have a problem with gays, but at the same time, what they do have a problem with is this infantilism that may use LGBT, that may use video games, that may use drug smoking, that may use being a fully grown adult and not being married, and not people are tired of that. There's people my age. There's people my age that are tired of it, both men and women, we want to get married. We want to own a home. We want a normal life. That's what I'm saying. That's a lot of that pushback. I'm Puerto Rican, so it's even us blacks, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, American Indians, Asians, we're all Americans, and we all have that fundamental sense of no, we want to get married, no, we want to have kids, yeah, we want to own a home. And so I wasn't surprised that he dominated so much, because this is just what I'm seeing on the ground, that a lot of people on the ground are saying we're sick of this, because we want to get married, we want to have kids, we want to own a home, we don't want to be kids our whole damn life.
We don't want to be in a polyamorous polycule or
that kind of jargon.
You don't want to abolish the family.
No, exactly. No,
no. And what's ironic is that the everything up is down and right is left, is that whereas the Democrats be like, oh, we're the inclusive ones, everybody's welcome, any pronoun, any sexuality, all that. But actually, when it comes to diversity of thought, or it seems what, from what I saw for putting together these segments, is that people at the MAGA things are having a good time. And there
Exactly.
was, obviously most of the people were still white, but it was a mix.
No, it was
And
mixed.
oftentimes there was, when the Obama came out and chastised black guys for not being excited about Kamala, I saw at least two videos of black men who were saying, I don't get near the racism or the prejudice from the right as I do from the left. And saying that, because both these people had made a political movement from the left to the right, or from Democrats to Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that going the other way, when they were on the Democratic side, the conservative people didn't give them any crap, but when they switched, they got all kinds of crap. Basically, like, how it's an unblack thing to do or something. And so the idea that so this notion, it just didn't play. They kept on, they wanted it to be true. They had this, they characterize the whole Trump thing or MAGA thing as just this big stew of white supremacy and toxic masculinity and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, there could be some of that, I'm sure, but you go and you look at these things and you see, people from all kinds of backgrounds.
Right. And
they don't see like they have segregated.
No, exactly. And
eating or something.
Right. And
he made a point of reaching out to different communities.
Yeah. And this is a point that the left has to understand. We have to exercise this sort of cosmopolitan and elitism, because our people just want to watch a ball game. They want to, like here in LA, the Dodgers just won the World Series and the entire working class came out. Mm-hmm. The people just want to go watch baseball. They want to watch basketball. They want to watch football. They don't want, this. And there's no disrespect to the people who do want to have all these pronouns. Okay, you have the freedom to do that. But our people are not so avant-garde, I guess. You know what I mean? Like our people are, the people are people. You know what I mean? Like we're all common. The people are common class people.
Most people aren't Freaky Friday. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And the left in terms of both the Democratic Party and the, what passes for a lot of the left these days, everyone wanted to put their freaks in the front. Mm-hmm. Look how fantastic we are. We have our,
True. Look what happened in Germany.
All this stuff. And most people just aren't into that, or they don't want to, so it's alienating.
I have a comment to that. Oh, just real quick towards that for our international audience. I think I've referenced this in our other podcasts. Tara knows I have this crush on this woman who lives in Europe. She has a master's in sociology. She works professionally as a sociologist. She told me, "Oh, hey, what's up, man?" She told me that, like, I had asked her, or she told I was like, "So what is the working class voting in Europe right now, in continental Europe?" And she's like, "Oh, the working class in Europe right now is just voting for right populist parties." And I was like, "Why?" And she was like, "Oh, because they don't want to see transgenders and all this kind of stuff." That's exactly what she said. Like that, so. I mean, shit. We have to acknowledge it. You know what I mean? Like the people.
Duh. Who didn't know there was going to be a backlash to this stuff? You can't keep on pushing toxic masculinity, and that make everything normal bad, and think that you're going to build a base. If you're like, abolish the family, abolish the police, abolish this, abolish that. We're going to rewrite all the history. White people are born with original sin, and whatever. That's not, it plays to them, but I don't know if they were all high on their own supply, or they really thought that we were all into them scolding us and being, these virtue hoarders forever, or what. But this backlash was going to come. And already they were complaining about it. We're going to get to that now that Garrett's here, how people are complaining, responding to the election, that it's like, a resurgent patriarchy and all you men hate us women and all of that. But welcome, Garrett. Welcome to the Red Election episode.
What's up?
We just been, I didn't realize that the time had changed, because the last time we did this, when it was 8 o'clock here, it was 4 o'clock where you're at. And then I realized at 8 o'clock, actually, my time. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. The time had changed, so it's 5 hours difference now. But anyway, welcome everybody. Garrett is here. So Garrett, before we get into the highs and lows of the election, or only get your freak on Friday. That's right, Keith. I have no problem with people getting their freak on or freakiness, but let's not have it be front and center and not make it the norm. Yeah, then it's not fun anymore. How can you enjoy your freak if your freak is normal?
True.
Anyway, so Garrett, were you? Let's see. You're you have a lot of. Okay, I want to get two things before we get into some of the tweets I picked out of the that were.
I don't live in MAGA country.
You don't know.
I thought New Jersey might turn into MAGA country this year, but it didn't.
Yeah, how many liberal tears have been shed on your shoulder? How many people have you had comfort today or yesterday?
Yeah, well, those are my circles these days. I think I've heard. I've been giving support to left-wing friends who are sort of who are still sick, who are also sane, who are also don't have Trump derangement syndrome, who feel isolated in the
see.
The sea of crisis. And,
I see. Because it's kind of like, yeah, because if everyone's freaking out and you're like, well,
they're drowning the liberal tears.
Like you're going to stand out. Like they're going to come like, why aren't you upset?
Yeah.
Did you vote for him? Did you betray us? And I wanted to say, Tony, welcome, because Latinos are also getting blamed. Yeah, Latino men are also getting blamed. So it's not just white guys or white people. It's also they've branched out. They're pissed at everybody. The PMC is pissed.
That they are, yeah. I'm sorry, Garrett. Would you like to? Oh, good.
So Garrett, were you surprised about how much how that they won everything?
Yeah,
in the red election, Oh, you don't know this. Garrett, even though he's joined the Game of Thrones U.S. selection coverage, he is not familiar with the Game of Thrones. So
really?
There's a famous episode. I mean, not that familiar. There's a famous episode called The Red Wedding, where a lot of characters that the fans really liked got. So it was really like freaked people out. So I'm like, this is the red election.
Nice.
So, were you surprised by how definitive the win was, or no?
No, I don't think I was that surprised.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, I was preparing myself for New Jersey to flip, and I talked to a lot of, or I talked to a few like cab drivers
Mm-hmm.
in the days before and after the election, and all of them were pro-Trump.
Yeah.
So that was my survey.
So I have to say, because it also, this is another. I'm constantly amazed. I don't know why, about how easily your consent can be manufactured, even if you're aware of how it can be, and you're aware probably of most of what you're seeing is bullshit. Still, if you see it enough, it starts to affect you. So I started to see these polls, and I was like, geez, and the Iowa poll that had him winning and all this stuff. And I was thinking, geez, this seems quite, well, maybe. And I thought, well, maybe I'm just projecting. Maybe, maybe people are really, maybe it's working, or maybe people really are tired of Trump, or maybe they, whatever it was. And so, and then there was the whole push in the media about, early voting is up with women, and they were so convinced it was because of abortion he was going to win, and there was early voting. This is all this stuff. And so when I went to bed, and then when I got up the next day, yesterday, the story had totally changed. Then it was like, doom and gloom, and how racist is our country, how sexist is our country, how stupid is our country, how fascist is our country. Just like, And then I also thought, I wonder how relieved Elon is. Because he really, not that he was my most concerned, but he really put a lot of eggs in the MAGA basket. And he, now he's one of Trump's right-hand man. But before we go on with the freak out and the morbid symptom, if it's possible that the current MAGA form could transition into something more left-leaning and more class for itself, I do want to play some of the greatest hits that we've enjoyed the most. And Garrett probably won't be surprised by this, but Tony might not have seen it, but I fell in love with this guy. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to play some of the greatest comedy, the greatest hits from the 2004 election cycle. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen. I can. Yeah. Good. Share screen. Share screen. Share screen. Yes.
All you did was what you thought you was doing, Barack Obama? Boy, you didn't step out there. All you did was piss black men off, bruh. All you did was piss black men off. Why y'all think the American people? Why y'all think the Democrat Party own black folks? The Democrat Party don't own black folks, bruh. What you thought you was doing with that? We see the play. We see the play. Kamala Harris is losing. She's not gonna win. So you done stepped on out. Yeah, black people, if you're voting for Donald Trump and not Kamala Harris, this is unacceptable. Man, look, check this out. This is what I got to say to you. 1, 2, Trump is coming for you. No more. 5, 6, the election was fixed. 7, 8, y'all made a mistake. 9, 10, Trump is coming again. 9, 10, Trump is coming again. Bam!
Bam.
In an interesting way, it's like a return of I think that's like a return of our country's actual culture, though. It's a return, whether people agree with it or not. It's a return, like that man in the clip is. It's a return to our. It's the stuff that gave us. It's the stuff that gave us the blues, jazz. Great baseball players like Mickey Mantle. You know what I mean? Like there's something to that. You know what I mean?
Fun, not having a huge stick up your ass.
Yeah, exactly. Like you know what I mean? Like there's something to that.
No, that guy makes me so happy. I just feel like, it was so hilarious. Anyway, okay, one more. This is. Did you ever see this, Tony? This Man Enough?
No, I've never seen it.
Oh my God. Well, I can't believe that. Let's see if it works on you. So this is an actual ad that was put out in support of Kamala.
What kind of donuts I like? Man enough.
I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm a man, man.
And I'm man enough. I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Neat.
Man enough to cook my steak rare.
Man enough to deadlift 500, then braid the out of my daughter's hair.
You think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast.
I ain't afraid of bears.
That's what bear hugs are for.
I'll tell you another thing I sure as shit am not afraid of. Women. I'm not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women.
They want to control their bodies? I say go for it.
They want to use IVF to start a family? I'm not afraid of families.
They want to be childless cat ladies?
Have all the cats you want.
Woman wants to be president?
Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement.
Because I'm man enough to support women.
Man enough to know what kind of donuts I like.
Man enough to admit I'm lost, even when I refuse to ask for directions.
Man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women.
Or one of those pants books that the sisters like.
I'm man enough to raw dog a flight. It sucked. Not worth it. I'm man enough to be emotional in front of my wife.
In front of my kids.
In front of my horse.
I'm man enough to tell you that I cry at Love Actually.
Good Will Hunting.
West Side Story.
That and Predator.
And I'm sick of so-called men domineering, belittling, and controlling women just so they can feel more powerful.
That's not how my mama raised me.
I love women.
I love women who support their families.
Women who decide not to have families.
Women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
I see that big ass grin on your face. Garrett, you're just being stoic, man. Like
Garrett's already been through this.
I've been blessed with
his testosterone's
exposure to
dropped
that.
quite a bit. The things we've seen.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like,
staying in my lane.
Yeah, man. It's an interesting window.
I'll tell you what you think.
Yeah. It's an interesting window. God, and they don't even see it. They don't like they really think the people of our country are dumb. They're not. The people of our country are not dumb, because guess what? Today, when I was asking people who did you vote for, and they were telling me why they didn't vote for Kamala Harris, they said because they didn't feel like, they basically felt like she was being condescending to them.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you too, because I'm a Gen Xer, and I'm old and married and have kids and all this, but it really seemed like I don't know if they're in a time warp, but they're fighting battles that are already won. It's almost like they're pouring salt in the wound. It's like, who are these men? It's like I just find it impossible to believe that the majority or even a large minority of men fit who they're the antithesis of. It's like, who are all these guys in the States who want to control and it's like, are they all in the 1950s? They all think that it's like that everybody that works is like the secretaries and Mad Men or something, and there's all this stuff. Like every measure that you look at, it's the men, especially that are it's like the men are living high on the hog, especially working class and lower middle class men. And of course, and it's the idea that somehow that's I don't know. I'll just stop, because I just really thought, like, what is this from the 1980s or something? It just seemed weird to me.
Yeah, it is. Thank you for saying that, but that kind of shows, Garrett, feel free to chime in and feel like if you agree with this. That kind of shows this sort of like true disconnect with like the actual reality of this, what's on the ground in our country. It's like what Chris Hedges has said, that they live in Richistan, that they don't actually live in America, and that kind of shows it, right? Because they think that a lot of dudes have this, like, I guess 50s mindset, when that's not the case. That's not the case in a kind of, yeah, you're right. Your generation, my parents' generation, Gen X, like, that's not. We've had musicians, we've had athletes that have kind of pushed the culture forward. That they just want to fight.
They just want to do their greatest hits. Like, they keep on fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're fighting battles that haven't already been largely.
Yeah, because I remember as a kid. Yeah. I remember as a kid in the 90s. And this is what's funny. Like, I remember as a kid in the 90s. Those like trash like talk shows like Ricky Lake and Jenny Jones and stuff. Yeah. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Like, I remember on Ricky Lake and on Jenny Jones that, that's when they were kind of, they were allowing LGBT people to come in and stuff like that. And I was kind of showing the country, these people are cool too. And, you had, musicians like Madonna and stuff like that, that opened the fold, house music and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you're right. Like, those things are so, like, I'm trying to find the words. Please help me.
Then just take a moment and gather your thoughts.
No, what I'm saying, I'm agreeing with what you're saying. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so okay.
Because okay, here's the funny thing. I remember when I was a kid, and you're a kid, and you're just I'm trying to watch cartoons, but the cartoons would end, and then like Maury would come on, and I remember I was like, okay, and I was like a kid, and Maury came on. And it was like a pageant for like what now we would call transgenders, but back then in the late 90s, they were called transsexuals, I believe. Like, do you guys remember that? They were called that.
What's the?
Yeah. They were called transsexuals. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody remembers those episodes of Maury when he would do like the transsexual like beauty pageant. You know what I mean? And then my sisters would gather around and we'd all do bets on okay, which one do you guys think is a man, who's not a man? You know what I mean? So those things have kind of culture is,
misgendering right and left. Yeah.
Yeah, we've kind of passed all those things. Dudes aren't on a high horse of my bitch has to just cook me food. No, dudes, dudes want to get laid. You know what I mean? Dudes know that, not to have those kind of things because they're not going to get laid. So yeah, our culture has to do that. You know what I mean? And then not just that, a lot of, dudes like listening to women. I mean, even back in the 90s, even though my dad was a quote unquote man's man, and he would give my mom space, you know what I mean? But he also, he at times, it was balanced, is what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah. No, I mean, this is this is not. So here's just my experience that I don't know of any women of all the women I know in various countries, even. No one is of all the complaints. No one is complaining about how their husband's oppressing them, or how they're. And I'm not saying that things are perfect. Don't come at me, people. But yeah, there's types of things about why can't they notice the laundry, or there's the typical type of stuff. But the idea that being really under somebody's thumb. So that's why I just find it odd that I just can't imagine that and I think they're wrong about this. I don't know if they spend all their time in gender studies classes, or if they all are volunteering at domestic abuse shelters, so they get an idea that this is a majority problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought, it just seems so weird. It just seemed just really aged. But to move on,
I mean, they painted themselves in a corner where they have nothing else but identity politics. And they were never really anti-capitalist, but they could pretend that they were prior to sabotaging Bernie Sanders, right?
Yeah.
But now we know they're not anti-capitalist, and so they have to pound in how they're sexist and anti-racist, even though everybody's effectively anti-sexist and racist now. So
it's the norm now. So it's just. I mean, that's what I mean. I don't want to make you the token person of color, Tony.
No, it is. I mean, the person who.
How often do you feel like the people are being racist?
No, I don't feel like I'm gonna be completely
racist against you.
Oh, not at all. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. The person who I referenced to, the reason why I was late to the show today was because this white American, he wanted to speak with me and stuff like that, and he was asking me if I was anti-gay. He was asking me if I was, all these things. And he's a white American. No, I don't feel like.
I'm telling you, you're on the shit list now. Latino men are on the shit list now.
Well, no, but yeah.
Welcome.
I think that's more of I think that's some of my uncles who voted for Trump, but no, yeah, no, I don't feel like
even after the Puerto Rico joke.
Yeah, that's actually what it's funny too, because my aunt called my dad and they were having a conversation about that, about why after that some of our family were still voting for Trump, but beyond all that, no, I don't feel like there's any sort of cultural apartheid system within the West anymore. I think we need to acknowledge that. I know that's going to sound controversial to a lot of people, but I want people to actually assess reality. The reality is a bunch of MFs are walking around here with LeBron James jerseys. A lot of MFs who are not Black, who are not Hispanic, say the N-word and listen to hip hop, and I can actually talk with them outside of this kind of our podcast. I go, oh, hey, what's up, my N, and all this kind of, and this person is not. No, I'm being serious. Like,
I know. You can do that. I wouldn't, but it's cool.
Let's keep because I have working class white friends that are more N's than my Black. You know what I mean? Like, no, I'm being serious. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember. Okay, so my mom, she's half Black and half white, but I remember once growing up, there was a group of these Black dudes walking down the street, and they had one white guy with them. And then me being so, I'm a funny kind I was a funny kid, and so I was like, ah, ha, ha, that looks funny. But she was all like, nah. She's like, no. She's like, you see those dudes? She's like, if a bunch of brothers have that one white guy in there, that one white guy is like, they respect him, and he's the most dangerous out of all of them. You know what I mean? So it's like, but that's that kind of culture of our country where there isn't a cultural apartheid anymore as it was. You know what I mean? We're all peoples of the Americas, of the Western Hemisphere. You know what I mean? But I can't speak to where you are though, but I can speak to the Western Hemisphere, you know, because we're all people of the new world. That kind of stuff has subsided. You know, I can go out and date a white American, a Filipino American, Arabic American, African American, you know, like that stuff is
Stop bragging, Tony. Anyway, Keith Hayes says, how about somebody being anti-class? Yeah, well, exactly. And this is the thing, is that wouldn't it be great if what the discontent and the desire for change and the feeling that things have gone awry, have gone wrong, if instead of having a right-leaning or right-wing populist form, it had an actual class consciousness, you know, class for itself. And that can happen. We'll see. But yeah, that's and even on the Trump end, it's still obviously in the populist thing. There's this group of elites, and they're the problem. You know, the globalists, or who hate our country and hate our values and want to open up all the borders, and they're the ones that send everything overseas and all of that. So there is a latent class component to it, but it's still in this language of this kind of, you know, corrupt elite. Would you agree, Garrett, with that characterization of MAGA?
Yeah. I mean, there's kind of a double think at play, because they still like give props to Ronald Reagan, but like
that's
Donald
the nostalgia,
Trump's,
though. Yeah,
that's nostalgia, I guess.
Well, I mean,
although the 80s were actually kind of shitty, but but I guess.
Oh, I'm not saying it's only that, but
yeah. But I guess there was still like residue from the sort of 50s Keynesian infrastructure that still existed in the 80s that there's nostalgia for. But Trump's policies are not exactly Reaganite.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, he does. That's the thing, that there is, even though obviously he is not, you know, in any way Marxist or socialist or anything like that. At least, but he, there's room to maneuver there, and we'll see. Because if he doesn't give I don't think he's going to have the honeymoon. I would hope he doesn't have the honeymoon that his quote unquote base gave him the first time around. You know, that he's going to have to, it can't just be blah, blah, blah and fake news and they're after me. Unless they really, you know, who knows what could happen between then and now, but we'll see what he does besides, or if it would be enough, you know. Would it be enough for them if he tightens up the border and slaps some more tariffs on China? Would that, you know, enough? Because that in of itself, of course, doesn't take care of the problem of that a lot of the capital, you know, the reason why you had the global market and all that is because a lot of the people rather invest overseas. They're chasing yield and not inclined. So where is this capital going to come from? It's going to start to be reinvested in the productive capacity of the United States, unless he's going to go and have some state-run companies or something. No. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
There's an argument that his base already punished him once.
Okay.
You know, like unless you believe that the election was stolen, then you know
I'm starting to believe it.
The 2020 election, yeah, well, maybe. but putting that aside, the low turnout for Trump, you know, may have been like disappointed MAGA voters from 2016 and people who didn't like him pushing the vaccine and stuff.
Oh no, for sure. Yeah. Okay. So they just forgot about it, that the other side was so bad that that they were like, Jesus, you know, well, okay, give him another chance. So before we'll get back to that in a bit, I want to go through some of the funny reactions, and you guys can help me categorize these if this is denial, anger, bargaining, or depression when it comes to whatever. What do we want to call them? The libs, the Dems, the PMC. I guess all of that. Anyway, let me get this off of here for a second. Okay. So, sorry. Yeah, add. Okay. So here's I start off mild and then they get progressively more angry in my mind. So if Kamala Harris had done everything the same, but she was white, a white man, she would have won. It's that simple. Is it that simple, Tony?
No, because isn't Kamala? I mean, Biden's white. So what? I mean, like Al Gore was white. What? John Kerry.
No. If Kamala was white, she would have won. That's what they're saying. If Kamala was a white man, she would have won.
But Kamala's just the same as John Edwards and John Kerry and all those.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. So I'm saying this is denial.
Yeah.
Anyway. I don't think. Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's impossible to know because we don't have an actual counterfactual. But I don't believe for a second that it's because women, the country's so misogynist or sexist that they just can't countenance a female president. I could be wrong, but I don't buy that. And then we have one, Art Candy. Don't blame white. This is my favorite. This might be my favorite. Don't blame white women. Blame uneducated white women. And then Stephen Evans chimes in, I'm blaming the men of any color that couldn't bring themselves to vote for a woman president. I also blame the women that cover for them. That cower to them. And Art Candy's like, same. And then Linez comes in, and weak white women. And Art Candy's like, fact. What do you think? Do you think it's the uneducated white? Do you also blame the uneducated white women?
Garrett?
I thought this was pretty great.
Again, like I don't things like this just leave me speechless. Like, you gotta stop asking me to comment on things like this because
it's real time. But I love this. So it's like, so she wants to have her cake and eat it too. So it's safe. It's also safe. So it's safe to blame. It's okay. So I thought, okay, yeah, you can blame white people, fine. And then don't blame white women. Blame uneducated white women. So I'm guessing that Art Candy is a white woman and she's an educated. So she's credentialed. So I know I have a PhD and I didn't vote for Kamala. So I guess, but whatever. I didn't vote for Trump either, but if I had to, again, I'll totally admit that if I had to vote, if it was like you either have to vote for Kamala or Trump, I would have voted for Trump. But since I had a different option, I went a different way. So let's see. So this is just, I don't know, bargaining and anger. So Jed, who wants to read this? We need a guy read this, and feel free to make any accent you think is appropriate to Jed.
I'll let Garrett do it. Garrett, come on, man. Show your acting chops.
I'll do my Keith Olbermann.
Okay.
Anyone blaming Harris or Walz today has utterly lost the plot and missed the point. This is fundamentally about America, toxic masculinity, and white supremacy. Blaming Harris would be part of that problem, not the solution. She deserves our thanks. Thank you, Vice President Kamala Harris.
I feel bad for Jed and his wife. Yeah, I mean, this is fantastic. This is again, bargaining, denial. So yeah, so this is why. It's just it's that toxic masculinity and white supremacy. That's what it is. All right. But also, yeah. So here we go. Bug girl. I'll do the girls. Hey, so I think it's less of male loneliness epidemic and more of like a young men becoming Nazis at a concerningly high rate. That's pathetic. I'm
I saw
unproud.
that.
All these young men becoming Nazis. My God. I don't
You
feel
know,
safe. I don't feel safe. I don't feel seen.
it's funny. I remember seeing that on the feed from that young woman, and then I clicked on her page, and she's an OnlyFans girl.
Well, then male loneliness, then she better, I mean, she better hope it's male loneliness.
Right.
Or I guess lonely Nazis also have money. I don't know. Okay.
Oh, jeez.
She's trying to say there are young men who aren't Nazis. That's
I want to know where her data
that's
is.
generous
On
of
that.
her.
I want to know the data. Where do you get where's your facts at, Bug Girl? How are you measuring this? Okay. So, okay. Go ahead. You want to do this, Tony?
You know what? I think I may have. Oh, well, okay. Let me see it. Well, no, I don't know. You guys do it. You guys did the good voices. I don't know.
Dude. Okay. I'm David Levitt.
Yeah.
Why do so many white women hate black women? Oh, fuck you, Dave. Why do you have such a small dick? No, sorry. Sorry, Dave.
Why does he have a
Private language people, I'm sorry. Yeah. So why do so many white women hate black women? So Dave wants the pressure to be off him, yeah. So what he wants to indicate with this is like, I didn't do it. I voted for Kamala. I'm man enough to vote for Kamala. But these white bitches, I don't know, they really hate black women. And I'm like, what? Like Kamala's a black woman? Or I mean, Jesus freaking Congress replies to David, why do so many white men hate all women? Yeah, that's right. So the white women hate black women, but white men hate all women.
It's
I know my politics.
The anti-hate organizations have really don't seem to be doing the job, despite all the government and corporate grants they're getting. The hate is multiplying.
Yeah. So James, New York's case against Donald Trump. Okay. Jill Stein was fine, says Keith. Yeah. He's talking about the women thing. I would even like green women if there were any.
Wow.
Did anyone ever hear of the spice of life? Yeah.
Oh, what is that?
I think it's an expression, the spice of life.
I think your son's waving by.
Oh, okay.
He was in the background, but
oh, all right. I might have to close the door then. He'll come in and shout at me. Oh, it's on Oscar. Okay. Oh, all right. I want to see what time it was. Let's see. Let's go on. Let's see what we have next here. Oh, okay. One of you guys has to do it, yeah?
Black men voting against a black woman? Unbelievable. Hispanics voting to round up and to support other Hispanics? Insane. White women voting to take rights away from their daughters and granddaughters? Seriously? What the actual fuck, America? Yeah. It kind of sounds like one of the professors from yesterday. But...
It's the voice of the highly educated.
It is. This is a highly educated person. Educated in all this and everything that ends with studies, yeah. So culture studies, film studies, gender studies, indigenous, Episcopalian, polyamorous studies.
Oh, geez, Tara with the jokes. I swear. You know, it's funny because you have such an acute. This is how you know that she's worked in academia, because her jokes are so on point.
I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah, that's funny, but yeah, it's so on point to how it actually is, you know. But.
Speaking of which, okay, so this was this I Dissent.
Huh.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Joe. I don't know if you guys. Joe was really.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
She was a paid person or something, because she was constant. She'd show up in my feed about how fantastic Kamala was, and how it was the women were gonna rise, and I don't know what. But Joe's tone has taken a turn. Okay, when you bitches are paying $18 for eggs and being paid pennies to working in the fields because no one else will do it, and your kids work in factory jobs because there's no school to attend, and shit like leprosy comes back, I hope you remember just how hard you own the libs.
Implicitly saying that Latinos have to work in the fields.
I don't know unless she's I mean
that's kind of what
unless she's really trying to go deep and talk about
she's admitting that Trump is going to hypothetically kick out all these Mexicans, and white folks, I guess, are going to have to go work in the fields. That's what she's kind of saying.
And leprosy's going to come back. Cool.
Right,
okay. Right. Oh, Mark Hamill. He was more even-handed, though. Mark Hamill. They say we get the later. He's trying to be all Jedi, but obviously he's writing his own tweets now. They say we get the leaders we deserve. Either way, either that has just been disproven, or this is not the America we all thought we were living in.
Is he going to do that in his Joker?
Everyone live in Beverly Hills? I don't know, Mark.
Remember when he read the tweets in his Joker voice? He should do that again. That would be funny. But...
No, most of us don't live in your America, Mark. Welcome.
Yeah.
Dare I say.
You know, it's funny, on a side note, that our little, I don't know, what our cartoon characters, Mark Hamill, Hercules, Kevin Sorbo, that we see them like sparring online. Isn't it funny that like Luke Skywalker will spar with fucking Hercules? You know what I mean? like that's what's so hilarious about the moment itself.
Anybody have a deep voice? I guess we learned the ultimate lesson last night. Half this country doesn't give a shit about integrity, character, or democracy. Or democracy. So you have an election. Oh, here's a good one. Garrett, can you do kind of a Shakespearean thing? Can you? I might tear up. I hope I put on the waterproof mascara.
America died today. Hope died today. Freedom died today. Ethics died today. Morality died today. Love died today. Cause of death, ignorance, racism, hate, and greed. Maybe we deserve it, but pay for the biggest I told you so in history.
Jeez, you get people who are ready to get taken out by a drone in Gaza that don't write stuff like this. I mean, it's crazy. Jesus, it's like, get over yourself. But you guys are in America.
Maybe they're sublimating that. I don't know.
We're all Americans here, but you guys are actually there now. So, did this happen? Was yesterday the day the music died? I mean. Is there no more? Is it really bye-bye American Pie? Is the levee dry? What's happening?
No,
No,
not at
all.
all.
The good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye. Yeah. This is gonna be it's the genocide to end all white trans genocides.
So Keith liked Joe's comment. My comrades, at least she knows someone works in the field, so give her some. It's like doesn't just open up the fridge like food. Yeah. America got the leader it deserved. The dispassionate observation. Yeah, I mean, best case scenario, he's a vanishing mediator. We'll see. Okay, so let's see what else do we got going on here. This is actually for you guys. Who else had to pretend to be extremely liberal and heartbroken at work tomorrow for your job security? Garrett?
I'm fortunate that we're on break at school. So, but actually, it's a working class school, so I don't know. There's not that much drama over this stuff.
Michael J. Stern. CNN has a story titled "Where the Harris Campaign Went Wrong." Nope, I won't read it. Harris ran a great campaign. The story should be titled "Where the American People Went Wrong." Now I know where all these things come from. Like, do we have too much democracy? Do we have to rethink the First Amendment? I mean, how dare people not vote the way I want them to?
Yeah.
Anyway. Here's a good one. Tony?
It's not just that Trump won. It's that Joe Rogan, Dana White, and Brett Favre won. Jailed insurrectionists won. The Alitos and the Thomases won. Vladimir Putin won. Racism won. Misogyny won. Sexism won. Global warming won. Xenophobia won. Most of all, fear won. And that's what hurts.
Is that what hurts, Mike? Change the lube, dude.
It's funny, as a lifelong Green Bay Packers fan, when it said Brett Favre, that actually made me almost laugh. I did not expect that person to put Brett's name in there. Maybe after the Mississippi situation that he had recently, that's probably why. But yeah,
yeah. But it's just
those jailed insurrectionists have had it too good for too long.
That's right. That's right. That was a very important podium.
It turns out we shouldn't be abolishing prisons after all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, exactly. We need more prisons. Okay.
We need prisons for half the country, apparently.
John Pavlovitz apparently thought that Mr. Wise missed some. Here we go. Kamala Harris didn't lose. America did. She's too good for this earth. As a nation, we collectively failed her. And in doing so, we failed girls and women and the LGBTQ community, people of color, Muslims, Jewish people, immigrants, the sick, the poor, the elderly, the people of Ukraine and Gaza, and the planet. Jesus, who voted?
The planet? The planet?
We let the planet down. And this is my favorite.
Are you sure this isn't a joke?
No, sure this is not a joke. Not. I let me tell you, I know too much about the gender world. So, of course, existing is not a crime. And this is I'm a furry artist, 18 years old, he, him. So as a furry non-binary he, him, who's had apparently their breasts removed, existing is not a crime. Yeah. And I'm just like, deal with it, people. Male, female, done.
Do you think the litter box stories in schools are true?
Probably.
You think so?
I don't even know anymore. Owen Jones stepped in it. So this is like the racism, like, the scratch a liberal, find a racist. I mean, and their racism, Malcolm X was right, man. The liberal racism is more pernicious, insidious. So Owen Jones, apparently he's well known here. He's a well known, I'll say journalist here. So I'm going back to my hotel in New York with a Muslim Pakistani American cab driver who voted for Donald Trump because, in quotes, the prices were too high under Biden. So he's making fun of the Pakistani driver who apparently he thinks voted against his own interest. So Roger from Hackney responds, I've been saying it for years and I'll continue to keep saying it. Identity politics is a sinister form of control over ethnic minorities and a sinister form of racism. I agree. Anyway, we're seeing a lot of that today. This kind of attitude, like, how dare these clients do this to us? You know,
Right.
like we needed you to back us, and you know, and now you didn't fall in line, and so it's really been quite interesting to see how these get progressively more. People got progressively more angry yesterday, or maybe more drunk. I don't know.
This is
And
Owen
Morning
Jones, the
Joe.
Guardian columnist.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's Owen Jones, the Guardian columnist. Is that
Yeah,
right? What a
who
story.
also was also on the get Corbyn out of the Labour Party train, the anti-Semitism, all this stuff.
Oh, what a-
So Morning Joe is already calling Black men and Latinos sexist and racist for not electing the woman overseeing a Holocaust in the Middle East. He said it's not just us whiteys anymore. Oh, here's one. So this is a picture of Kamala touching her chest and like waving at somebody. And Izzy wrote, "Me watching all the Trump supporting Latinos cry when their relatives get deported."
Jeez.
ODI, solidarity. So you don't get this if you have a class-based politics. You don't get this. You know, abortion for you, immigration policy for you. We'll talk about reparations for you. For you. It's like, okay, not good. Let's see. Oh, this was also good. So this is from, I think this is January Jones from Mad Men, yeah.
Oh.
Me watching him deport the Latinos and the Arab Americans after they voted for him. Oh, here we go.
This one's been going around.
Yeah, you should read this one, Tony.
We have to have a very, very uncomfortable conversation about Latino voters in this country. That's how that person.
So that's why we brought you here. This is a secret intervention, and welcome to the struggle session. I want to know why you didn't do more to get your Trump-loving, self-hating Puerto Rican uncle to vote for Mamala. You let us down, Tony. God damn it.
I don't think he can be reached. But, as they would say, right? But yeah.
Did you not hold enough space for him?
I guess not. I couldn't. I guess, he only posts things on Facebook of, 70s baseball, like the big one. He's like an old time, I can't say this word, but if,
Did you tell him about the trans Latinx youth? Is he not there? Is he a heartless SOB? Oh, sure, he has his green card, so F everybody else.
I've heard this characterized as a backlash against specifically against Latinx.
The term Latinx?
Well, here's some, because the Latinos are fighting back a bit. So this guy, I mean, I don't know if it is anonymous, but he's like, so yeah, call us Latinx again, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the X is. No one's even ever told me what the X is. What's the X? It's like being an
I don't know. Maybe nobody knows. Who knows?
What's X? I'm being serious.
Maybe they thought, whoever did that thought, they like the X, so maybe the Latins want one too. I don't know.
What the hell is X? I don't know what no one's ever told me what X is.
Okay. Well, I don't know. So go ahead and read the bottom one, since this is geared towards you.
Well, shit, you're basically asking me to do like a Speedy Gonzalez accent.
No, I'm not. I'm just.
No.
Can you read that in Spanish, please?
No. We're not all illegal, you stupid fuck. Yeah. Many of us have been here for like over 500 years.
Yeah.
You ever hear of the Empire of Mexico?
Yeah. And so this is a good follow around me, OC from Pong. Latinos voted for Trump because they moved to the U.S. to work and make money, not become Latinx.
That's actually true. That's actually true. Yes.
And this guy, I guess you get to read this one, Tony.
You just want me to say. You just want me to say.
No,
Nick,
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I can't say it. I literally can't.
This is all your fault, nigga.
Do you know who this is?
Yeah,
Tony?
the shooter, right?
Yeah, this is the guy who tried to shoot the failed assassinator. So this is all his fault because he missed, apparently. So now we've gotten from, so we're clearly in anger now. We got to have depression and we got to have bargaining and denial. Now this is anger, I guess. Donald Trump is 78. Our only hope now is that he just dies.
That was my favorite of all of them. That one was actually funny. Like just seeing that on the feed, that actually made me laugh when I saw it. I was like, ha!
Well, no, it's just like, and then what? So he dies, and then it's like one of those. It's like one of those things. Like if the head vampire dies, and all the people he infected go back to normal or something. Is that the thinking here?
You know, just to table this for a moment, but this shows, and I hope the left that's out there listening, this shows to me as somebody who was 19 years old when Occupy kicked off, then when I was 20, joined my first socialist organization, and then after that joined DSA and all that stuff. This shows that the left, I mean, we didn't make any fucking grounds, like, because like the people, these quote unquote people you would think would be more keen to our way of thinking, these people still believe in the Democratic Party. Like, we have not made any fucking ground. Like, that these people still believe in that shit. You know what I mean? Like, we had over 10 years, we had the whole 2010s to we had since 2008, really, since the Great Recession to kind of kick that mindset out of people. And
we've had since the Communist Manifesto.
Well, yeah. Well, true.
Well, the DSA had a lot to do with that.
Yeah. Oh, you're right.
What did you say, Garrett?
I said the DSA have a lot to do with, keeping people in the Democratic Party.
True. Yeah, you're right.
Listen, I supported what is it? I supported the anarchists who protested when the Bernie campaign came to Zuccotti Park and Occupy Wall Street to do their early registration drives.
There you go. And so in terms of I don't think this will get traction, but they're already the lamestream media, who I don't even know who watches this anymore, but some people do.
Bob Woodward,
they're already trying to talk about Putin. So Bob Woodward says Trump's former DNI, I don't know who that is, Dan Coates, tells me Putin might be blackmailing Trump. Jesus. I mean, the denial and bargaining is fantastic.
I hate reruns.
Yeah, it's like, can you not come up with something else? And here's just more of how obnoxious the PMCs are. So Greg Greenwald said, at Slate writer is confounded that JD Vance's wife doesn't divorce him. She can't comprehend how a non-white woman could stay with a conservative. Her ultimate answer, she's just obedient to her husband and identifies with her white oppressor.
Yikes.
I think this stuff, I really hope that this is peaked, because it's just the most ridiculous thing. And what it does is it validates the PMC as kind of like what Catherine Liu would say, these virtue hoarders, they have the right politics, the right words, all this stuff. And so either, so if either you're on their side, so since she isn't, the only other explanation is that she has internalized white supremacy or internalized patriarchy. That's the only reason that she's also quite accomplished. Yeah. I don't know if she was a lawyer or what was going on, but yeah, the only, this idea that they're so convinced that JD Vance is like some sort of super predator that they can only imagine that his wife is totally out. And then they wonder why they alienate people.
True, right.
Oh my god. Yeah, and another one
Glenn
from
in his bag, I see.
yeah, Glenn is he's good at trolling. The
Yeah.
corporate media spent the last week insisting things were awful for Trump because a comedian's joke enraged Bad Bunny and J-Lo, and because Trump threatened Liz Cheney with execution by firing squad. The media squandered their tiny amount of remaining dignity and for nothing. And I wanted to ask you guys, because you're there more. Well, you're there. Is this really the end of the line for this model of cable news? Because it's one thing if they just have their small crowd and they're feeding them red meat, but they're wrong all the time.
Right.
So at a certain point, it's like, is this really over? Are we really shifting to the alternative media or the citizen media or the pod space, or I don't know? Or do you even think there's going to be such a thing as CNN and MSNBC in a couple of years? Or
no? I'm sorry, Garrett. I'm sorry. I don't mean to speak over you, but I'm sorry.
What do you think, Garrett? Garrett, you're muted.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I'm not sure that there'll be a New York Times in a few years, the way things are going. Yeah. Although they've probably gotten away with equally bad things in the past. Mm-hmm. Just no one talks about it.
Yeah, maybe it's more of a quantity thing. It's just so, and now they almost it's almost like they're egging Trump to do something that they could be like, see, we told you. Because if you can't keep on saying someone's Hitler, and at some point they're going to have to do something that's at least Hitler adjacent, or you're really out the door. But yeah, I hope so, because it's just it's comedy now. Mm-hmm. I used to watch it and used to irritate me, because when you know that when you totally know, you're not just a bit suspicious that it's bullshit, but when you know it's 90% bullshit. But now it was today it was kind of funny though when I watched Morning Joe.
Yeah, I definitely think it's on its last legs. I don't know if you guys are big sports fans, but I was listening to these two older sportscasters who are from, the tradition of print media and stuff like that, and they were talking about how ESPN is essentially, ESPN at the most will only now broadcast professional basketball or football games, but anything other than that, it won't. It's going to get rid of SportsCenter. So I think, that stuff is like on its way out, 24/7 news and stuff like that. From what I've seen on the ground, people, especially the young, they've moved on to TikTok. Which I didn't even know TikTok until people have told me that TikTok is now becoming that sort of battleground for information and ideas. I know that Eddie Liger, is that how you pronounce his last name? Eddie Liger. Yeah. He's a Gen Z kid, and I remember I saw his screenshot of all his TikTok followers, and I was like, wow, okay, so he's reaching these kids, and I think that's kind of it is moving towards citizen media in that way. I think that's a positive, obviously.
Yeah, we'll see if it's just going to be like a kind of a crowdsourcing thing where they're gonna if the people who have CNN and MSNBC are gonna be like, oh, we'll just keep the model, but we just need to bring in fresh faces. So they'll pluck people from the podcast world. Like, hey, Theo Vaughn, would you want to? I don't know why Theo Vaughn would do that.
Yeah, they already do that.
Or they're going to try to have like their own, like, oh, the people like Rogan. We'll come up. We'll try to find our own or something.
Yeah, they already do that. They do that with that dude. They do it with that. God, I want to say this because especially after everything we just said, but they do it with that black guy who was on TMZ. Van Lathan?
I don't know who he is.
Yeah,
Van Jones?
Van Lathan. No, Van Lathan.
It's like he's a company man.
No, Van Lathan.
We'll see. I can't imagine. I bet maybe why they're really upset today isn't because they really believe all the crap they've been saying, but that they're worried because they were hoping that Kamala would win, and then they were going to really pull in and get a handle on this social media problem. This misinformation problem, and the right gatekeepers, like they were going to be, like their position and power is going to be, reestablished. There's just too much information. There's too much misinformation out there. we need, it's their job to, to gatekeep and to filter and all that. But so maybe they're really upset. I don't know. But in terms of what you mentioned before, Garrett, about the 2020 election, John Supple says the Kamala Harris defeat, I understand. Anti-incumbency, economy, perhaps lack of clear message.
Mhm.
But 14 million fewer votes than Biden 4 years ago, that represents an astonishing failure for the Democratic Party. And Kit Clarenberg, who's a good follow, 14 million fewer votes than Biden 4 years ago, that represents an astonishing failure for the Democratic Party, or indeed industrial scale fraud in 2020. That is a big difference. But again, she's 2024 is not 2020, I guess. But it's kind of interesting about that. If they really wanted to cross all the T's and dot all the I's to make sure Trump didn't win in 2020, but who knows? Well, maybe RFK will get to the bottom of that too. Anyway, okay, so moving on to I thought this was really interesting. So a Steve Bannon article came out, an interview on Vanity Fair a couple days ago, I think, maybe. And it's called Steve Bannon has called his army to do battle no matter who wins in November. And can you see this, Tony, or no?
I can see it. Yes, I just have to.
Yeah, can you read that, please?
Oh, okay. Yes. The D.C. area has grown immensely in population, wealth, and importance since the end of the Cold War. Its new status as a capital of a free spending and unchallenged global hegemon made the region into one of the world's richest metro areas. Washington now even boasts an infrastructure befitting its position as the administrative center of an empire. As a casual phrasing among policy elites now often puts it, one that depends as much on flows of money and information as it does on raw military force. A cluster of cables and data centers in Northern Virginia now funnel a huge majority of the global internet traffic through unassuming exurbs like Tyson's Corner, where communications can be conveniently monitored by the experts at the National Security Administration.
Okay.
This past July.
Okay, So I'll read this part. This is the part that I want to get you guys to comment on, because it's a part of the question of why, given that if you compare how Trump governed or his administration to other administrations, there's not a huge difference, but there seems to be a concerted effort against him.
Mm-hmm.
So why, what's the issue there? Something behind just the show of oh no, we really have two sides. So the night before the summit began, at NATO summit, I had a drink at Old Ebit's Grill in view of the White House with a friend who works for a defense contractor. This feels crazy, she said, meaning the frenzied mood suffusing the town. Everyone is so keyed up. It feels like they're going to snap. But this wasn't just a vibe. It was a response to a very real chance that a shock could come to the whole world order. I think people don't fully appreciate that the institutions literally couldn't function. Ben Rhodes, who had been President Barack Obama's most important advisor on foreign policy, told me later. He said, the world is 2/3 of the way to a new world war, but a shock could come even without that. The G20, the IMF, the World Bank, NATO, it's not that the US is the biggest stakeholder, he went on. They're literally appendages of the United States and our interests in our system. When we act as a disruptor of our own empire, the system gets thrown completely out of whack. This is what populism, coming from the left or right, really means. It's when voters get to weigh in on subjects that politicians and policy experts like to keep outside the realm of political debate. This may sound like simple democracy, but in practice, it's not how democracies within the core of the American system, from France to Japan to our own, actually work. The politicians, business titans, and heads of think tanks who set policies for these democracies tend to fear, with some fairness, that if voters get too much of a say on matters of statecraft, read foreign policy, they'll throw whole societies into chaos. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because I thought, okay, well, that makes some sense then about why these forces are so organized against Trump, why they work so hard to convince people that Kamala was some sort of angel from heaven. It's because they're worried about him,
waking up the masses.
Well, that's not, well, that, I mean, maybe, but what I heard is they don't want him to throw any monkey wrench into the works.
Fragmenting the alliances.
Yeah. What do you think, Garrett, in the dark?
Fragmenting the alliances with the rest of the North Atlantic powers, I guess.
Interesting.
But I don't know. I mean, obviously, you couldn't do more to fragment than like, blow up the Nord Stream pipeline and cut off the German power supply. But I guess,
but really, I mean, Germany continues to be do things that are obviously in its not in its economic interests.
Yeah.
So maybe they can get away with it. I don't know. But I'm not saying this person's right, but I'm like, that made sense to me. I'm like, because I was thinking, why are these people so freaked out about him? And it could just be that they just don't want to take the risk that he would do something like, let's get rid of NATO. Or I don't like the WHO, or what's with this IMF thing. If he starts asking too many questions and he has a population, he has a coalition behind him, that would, this is the empire part. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is the stuff that he doesn't know. This is probably where the people who get elected who haven't been in government long, this is probably why they have all those meetings in between when they're elected and when they take power, to kind of give them maybe a training job about how all this stuff works and what you can do and not do. I don't know. Because that's really interesting. And it's not surprising, but to hear someone say it like that, with it, it's not that these are international institutions that we're a big partner of. They're part of our apparatus.
Right.
Which, of course, is not, hearing somebody say that. And we don't want this guy mucking up our program. That's, even though, that for them, like they said, when they mentioned how wealthy DC is and the areas around DC, that's, a lot of that has pumped up since the end of the Cold War, and it's not based on investing in productive capacity of the United States. Yeah, I would say most of it isn't.
Well, maybe it's less like waking up the masses directly than like waking up nationalism in the European countries, because that's a way to keep them in line is to be more strictly globalist, because then you can say, like, we're all in this together, or at least the West is in this together against Putin. And for the garden, as the European president said, the garden of Europe and the European diaspora in the US.
So here's what Max Blumenthal said, because he commented. I became aware of this article because he tweeted out basically saying that the people that were commenting on it left out the most important part. And this is his commentary on the it's a longer article. Indeed, this is Marx Blumenthal. Indeed, liberal democracy in the Western imperial core was never supposed to allow the public to determine the course of their country's foreign policy. But with an unpredictable rogue like Trump in the Oval Office, the smug captains of U.S. empire worry that a downwardly mobile segment of America's electorate with little appetite for foreign entanglements has been given undue voice. There are many reasons to oppose Trump's agenda, and he will likely be corralled by many of the same militarists who shaped his foreign policy in the first term. But for the elites that control the Democratic Party, the fear and loathing of 47 all boils down to an uncontrollable panic about imperial decline. That's what he thinks. So that's his thesis about what's behind this concerted effort behind Mamala Kamala. And I was thinking about this because why do most people in the United States, given how much money is spent on the military and foreign policy and all this stuff, very uninterested or just not a big deal, a big issue. And of course, I would think that if I think back to what the media covers, they don't really cover it that much to make the connection between what goes on overseas, the foreign policy, and the standard of living, and the infrastructure and all that back home. So it makes sense that they're not interested in anybody who's going to make foreign policy a political issue beyond who gets to decide who the enemies are, I guess. You're muted, Garrett.
Sorry, there's a lot of people on the right who I think need to read that Vanity Fair article. Because there's people on the right who say it's like we're supposed to be a republic, not a democracy, and they're trying to, push too much democracy, and that's what's causing chaos in the society. Like, no, they don't want it to be a democracy either. What are you talking about? Your democracy is why they, don't like you, and don't do anything for you.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's a lot of confusion in that area.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, there's a lot of right populists who denounce the Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission, who were one of these original globalist organizations. But the sinister thing that the Trilateral Commission actually talked about was the excess of democracy, right? that occurred in the 1960s that they were trying to put down.
Well, and if you think about it, that probably the only thing that since labor has been so disempowered, and we've been so divided and more and more smaller groupicles of identities and affinities, that but for democracy, they would also not have to care about how the average person thinks.
Right.
Yeah. But since we still have this, they have to put time into what the plebs think. Yeah. And I'm sure that's also what's really behind the quote unquote misinformation and this concern about getting a handle on social media is because it takes more effort then to try to control what the mass of the voting base thinks.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I don't know if you guys have been seeing the CIA has been having that Hispanic guy go around and put on a wig. Have you guys seen that? He's
No.
an internet personality, but he acknowledges that he works for the CIA. And then there's a picture on Twitter where it's him standing outside of Langley looking like a complete normal government worker, and then him on the podcast with the fake long curly hair and all that. Have you guys seen that?
No.
This guy? Oh, I'll send it to you in the group chat. But
Okay, but what was that about? Was that about this quote or?
Yeah, that's about that they are trying to get put their hands into the TikTok.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see.
Yeah, I'll send you he's
later here. I was like, why is he telling me?
Oh, he's an active CIA.
Something.
Yeah, he's an
active, okay.
Yeah, he's an active CIA agent.
Okay. All right. So I want to actually get a glass of wine. Tony, can you guys man the station here for a minute?
Yeah.
So you want to give us a topic?
Yeah, of course I'm going to give you a topic because you weren't here for my intro. So now we're getting into the more theoretical, speculative part of the red election. So I'll read this again. So a morbid symptom of liberalism's collapse. So Trump/MAGA. With Trump's return to the White House and Republicans controlling Congress, the 2024 election reveals more than a simple political shift. We could consider it a morbid symptom, underscoring both the failures of liberalism and the populist forces have emerged to fill the void. While MAGA channels significant discontent, it may be it's only a transitional form. Trump himself could ultimately turn out to be a vanishing mediator, a temporary figure whose role is to catalyze ends up being, looking back, to have catalyzed frustration within the current system, potentially paving the way for a more left-leaning working class movement that truly operates as a class for itself. So how I was kind of thinking about it is that, you know, this election, in terms of being a morbid symptom of liberalism, and to look at MAGA not just as nostalgia or as reactionary or whatever, but as the content, in terms of the content being genuine and being, a logical response to the current political economic situation we've been in for a long time. But the form of it is limiting, keeps it within the channels of the system. So kind of this nostalgia, we just need to get back to how it was before, you know, the globalists went crazy and have some tariffs and whatnot. So that's what I want to kind of think about this in terms of, is this really how some people have said it, including Haas and other people, is this election, this red wave, this red election, is this the death of liberalism, even if liberals don't realize it yet?
I would say so. I would say so.
I'll be back in 1 minute.
Oh, okay.
You guys talk. You guys talk.
Yeah, I agree. We'll do some male bonding.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a repudiation of the status quo of the liberal establishment, and they definitely are the establishment.
Right.
So just the people expressing rejection of that is a sign of life.
Exactly. Yeah. I completely agree with you. And I think to key in on that word life, because that's why I said that prior to, I think before you came on, that it represented the ossified, what remains of the ossified middle classes. And as more people become proletarianized, you know, most people are proletarians in the United States, then that sort of polite decorum and that sort of all those kind of so-called polite behaviors kind of fall out the window, because in reality, people have to worry about, you know, their material conditions, you know, the fact that, you know, rent's going sky high up, you know what I mean? You need new language to articulate that kind of stuff. And that sort of middle class liberalism cannot articulate that stuff. So that's why, in my personal view, it's essentially dead now. I personally believe it's dead as we speak. And I think also the fact that this podcast exists, that we personally exist, and we have the ideas that we do, shows that it's dead. You know what I mean? That it shows that, you know, it's dead. Like,
yeah. I mean, you know, we were talking before about all these like dead end, you know, cable news networks and all this like monotonous liberal discourse, woke liberal discourse. And it's kind of like, it's partly desperation, but it's also like propaganda is, you know, it's based less on reason and more on repetition. You know, they just repeat it over and over again to, you know, hoping that people will be like literally brainwashed because they get to define what reality is in big media. But you know, it's not working.
Yeah, it's not. To the fact that also the American working class doesn't watch TV, meaning that they don't watch the television shows anymore that they used to. And I was speaking with a friend of mine about this the other day, because I'm also an artist and a writer. And as a reference point, now this is going to make everyone laugh. You know, in the 90s, my mom, you know, as many women did, you know, she would watch soap operas. And I was watching these old clips of General Hospital from the 90s, right? And I told a friend of mine how I was astonished by the level of acting, but how the story and the level of narrative, and how compared to today, if you watch television or movies, there's so much noise. There isn't that sort of sense of a detailed story and fully developed characters. You know what I mean? Like, you have this kind of repetition of these kind of liberal, you know, kind of propaganda archetypes. I think like that.
Right.
I think that movie studio A24, actually was talking with my sister about this, kind of represents that as well, where the A24 movie is essentially a millennial adult who is celebrated for being an autonomous identity. You know what I mean? Whereas a 90s General Hospital episode is, you know, you're seeing the whole community, you're seeing family, you're seeing kids, you're seeing, you know, you're seeing marriages. I think, you know, that's a lot of the reason why people don't watch TV anymore is because they're not seeing their lives reflected on TV. They're seeing these like so-called hip, so-called posh, fully grown adults that are just repeating identity politics over and over and over and over and over. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's definitely died. It's definitely died within, you know, as far as I can see. But
Yeah, I mean, and just to get on about how a lot of the propaganda is repetition. I mean, when I mentioned before about how easily it is for your consent to start get manufactured, you start to doubt what really start. You know, and you hear something more than a couple of times, even if you're like, okay, these people aren't who I'm not gonna put any faith in. But I started to be like, oh, look at that Iowa poll, or maybe people really are, you know, maybe it's just me and I'm not seeing the appeal to the Kamala train, this type of stuff, you know, just because I've heard it. If you hear it so many times, you're just like, you know, it's like if you hear so many times that, you know, everyone at your work is putting pronouns in their bio, even though you think you're like, what is this? You might be like, oh, well, you know, but before you know it, you're just kind of conditioned. It's just, yeah, language, of course, is fantastic, but it's our programming, and it's so, you know, how it just does not have to be. And you realize that the propaganda doesn't even have to be good, doesn't have to be that hidden. It just has to be consistent, I guess.
yeah, I think a good example of this kind of propaganda was that movie A Wrinkle in Time that had Oprah in it and Reese Witherspoon. And if you watch it, it's total like teaching these like super duper woke identity culture values in it. But if you watch it if you try to gain like a narrative and a story just to sit down, okay, I want to watch a story, it doesn't really provide that. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that the message got in front of the story. I remember I used to like Grey's Anatomy until it totally became about teaching people about pronouns and about, you know, racial tensions and all this stuff, which is fine. But it just was so obvious that they decided that it was their goal to kind of model appropriate behavior and the kind of, you know, thing that they wanted going on there. And I was like, I'm you know, I'm not into this. But this thing again with the virtue signaling and the PMCs who, you know, these people who are saying, oh, it's uneducated, blame the uneducated, all this stuff. They still haven't figured out the fact that the ship has sailed, you know, that people have gotten and had I think have had it up to here with you know, the language police and the comedy police and all the, you know, and all and the queering of every boundary and the, you know, we have to decolonize everything. I mean, people have had, and it's too bad because it just got so excessive. I wonder if this is like, is this what the end of liberalism looks like? Is this hyper woke PMC, hyper sanitized, holding space, just blah? That's so blah, but also so oppressive at the same time. I mean, it's like always there. Is this like the pinnacle? Is this like the highest developed form of liberalism there is?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Gary. Would you like to say? I'm sorry if I'm talking too much.
Well, it's that tragedy and farce phenomenon that Marx talked about, I think. As I wrote a Substack like a year or so ago where I said that like Black Lives Matter was like the farcical version of the civil rights movement. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't mean that the civil rights movement was a failure totally, but I mean that people were martyred fighting for it.
They didn't get real estate and Maybelline ads.
Yeah, and TV shows.
Invited to the Oscars.
Yeah.
Well, and also this thing, it's also, I'm going to piss off the feminists, but in terms of big sister, the big sister isn't just about gender. There's this thing, and men can fall into this too, but this kind of oppressive thinking about everybody's feelings, everybody being included, and you know, to be kind, to be nice, to be this kind of this weird, yeah, the only thing I'm thinking of is like, you know, postmodern Big Brother or Big Sister or something. That's just like, stop, just ugh.
Yeah, you're right.
You know?
Yeah,
And I don't know. And someone would say, okay, we were like saying that they're going to accuse me of being Jordan Peterson and saying it's too many childless women in the professions. And since they don't have kids at home, they have to turn everybody else into a child. Which, okay, there could be some of that.
Something to that.
But well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that they don't want to admit it. But I don't know if it's just that we got too out of balance, that the became like instead of there being, it was supposed to be like a nice blend of masculine and feminine, and it became like, I don't know, I don't become like a Taoist, like it's the yin and the yang, but there's something about this, like what happened? Where did all this therapeutic culture, this how are you, and this oppressive inclusion? I mean, I'm just like, I don't know. I've always been you know, I'm not a you know, collapse every time one of my child sheds a tear. So maybe I'm just a tough bitch, but it's just like, I'm like, God, just.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I have to chime in. Okay, so the guy who wanted to talk with me after class today,
who asked if you were a fascist.
Well, yeah, who asked if I was a fascist. What Tara just said, I said to him. So he was asking. He's like, "Why do you have a problem with men sharing their feelings, Anthony?" And I said exactly what Tara just said. I was explaining to him exactly what Tara just said, and yeah, it's enough with that. Enough with this, like, Big Brother woke. Like, stop, bro. Like, stop. Like I was like, we were talking about this guy who in the class, you know, he has like the school shooter vibes, and here. So I was with one of the I was like chilling with one of the anthro professors, and her and I were talking and stuff like that. And then another one of the professors came in, and he spontaneously mentioned the guy who her and I were talking about. And then so I'm listening to the two professors, and then the professor was all like, the male professor was all like, I just think we just need to share all of our feelings as men. And then I said this. I was like, no, I think actually what his problem is that he needs a woman. And it just got crickets. It just went crickets. And that's the problem with these types. Like, they negate the common class culture of life, the commonalities of life, for this very abstract bullshit. And I'm fucking, excuse my language, because I don't know if we're on YouTube, I'm freaking tired of it. It's annoying. It's annoying. The reason why that guy has issues.
MAGA!
Yes, the reason why the reason why these people have issues is that they
we need to make women female again and let men be men again.
Yes. Like, bro, what are you talking about sharing their feelings? Like, bro, what are you talking about? You're a grown ass man. Like, he was all like, yeah, you know, I don't want to just watch a baseball game with my buddies. I want to talk about my feelings. That's exactly what he said.
Well, that would ruin the baseball game. There's a time and a place, man. Time and a place.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like, you have a wife, my guy. Like, what? Talk about your feelings with your wife. You know what I mean?
Anyway, so I'm playing with this because I'm thinking about writing something on. I don't know. We'll see how far we go. There's only so far I can go at this point since it just happened. But playing around with the form and content thing with MAGA. Mm-hmm. So again, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to ask you guys a question before we move on. Does this prove that? I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong. That culture doesn't derive from either the petit bourgeois or the hot bourgeois, right? The true upper class, but that culture actually derives from the working class, the common people. That's the problem with woke, is that it comes from this like really upper crust class, but the actual culture that made up the nation is actually working class. Would you guys agree?
if it's mass
Well, I think
culture,
I
yeah,
think the
definitely.
culture industry wouldn't, but yeah, I mean, there's pop culture, and there's the common stuff, but it's I mean, I don't.
Yeah, because even because
But
even
anyway,
I'm
Garrett,
sorry.
do you want to say anything about that?
Well, yeah, if it's mass culture, definitely. It's got to, obviously it's got to have mass appeal. That's just common sense. And the culture can change, but it has to be like organic and consensed on. It can't just be like handed down, you know, from the academy, like directly via, you know, the you know, the film critics or whatever, and the cultural commentators,
right.
from their cultural studies courses, you know, imposing it on everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just there was too much of a glut of people coming out of graduate schools with these degrees, and they came out and they're like, oh my God, everything's so racist and sexist, and somehow the best thing they could do is try to model appropriate behavior or cool behavior in the in the classroom or in arts, and that just kind of got reduced down to language policing and woke scolding and virtue signaling and canceling, and I don't know. But the hall monitor thing is not a good look. So we'll see. But with the Trump is the MAGA is a morbid symptom again, which is the movement. So the MAGA movement channels real anger and disillusionment. I've said that before, and other people's have. Yet I'd say that it remains structurally constrained by its populist, nationalist, and other reactionary characteristics. But it's anti-elite, anti-establishment. Again, something's gone wrong. We're not on the right track. The distrust in a lot of the institutions resonates deeply, but it falls short of offering a coherent alternative in its current form. I'd say it reflects a discontent, but lacks the ideological frame needed to challenge. If it's gonna be channeled at all to really make a substantive change in the political economy, which again I think is why the people like Haas and Midwestern Marx didn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater when it came to MAGA. They saw something there in the content, to use these terms, even though the form wasn't anything particularly left, and the people that are critiquing them, like the Tuts and whatnot, they're just focused on the form and they don't pay any attention to the content, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
However much like they talk about like cultural Marxism, like the quote Haas always uses is like from the Communist Manifesto, where he says it's about the real movement, the real movement of the people to abolish the present order of things. But it's like, it's the real movement. It's where people are at, not, something that you have an ideal of and then you impose it on the world.
And I think that also playing on this idea of the vanishing mediator, so it's like again, these people who are so highfalutin with their dialectics and whatnot become very anti-dialectic when it comes to anything that is not appealing to their delicate sensibilities. So, because of course MAGA could evolve. So the movement, so say that again, I'm thinking about it in terms of this populist form can give way to new content, and then the content and obviously you have the contradiction or the friction between the content and the old form. If it was more left oriented, more class focused, rather than just this kind of vulgar, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but very blunt elite. It's like the real Americans versus the elite, or the real Americans versus the globalists, or something like that, which is a start. But that, so they could move into and again, that's why I think the guys on the left, the Midwestern Marx people and the infrared, and now the American Communist Party, that's why they tuned in on this group or people who it resonates with. So it's the idea that if MAGA's energy is reoriented to get a different form towards a broader class struggle, then who cares about Trump? Who cares? He just becomes a vanishing mediator, and it could be birth. There's this chance. This is like the silver lining. If we want our cup to be half full, of a more genuine working class movement that can surpass its initial limitations of this current kind of populist form with the great leader, the savior. This idea that we elected Trump and we got a red wave, so it's all good. I don't know if you want to add anything to that. I'd be appreciative, because it is a rough draft. So. No.
Yeah, I mean, if the test will be if he can really, stand up to the deep state in any way, like he says he is supposed to, and he's already kind of failed at that once. This is kind of like his last chance.
But again, it's to separate out the Trump from the MAGA, I think, but not to demonize Trump, because that's not how you're going to get, you're not going to make much headway if you're like, oh, that guy is a, whatever. But again, the what we call MAGA now, when, Trump's 78 years old. So I guess J.D. Vance would be the heir apparent, but he doesn't have to be.
Right. But I'm just saying them as representatives of the whole right populist movement.
Okay. Yeah. So do you ever, because you being the social populist, you would have a different form. You would encourage for the content that currently is in MAGA, or takes the shape of right populism. So do you? I don't want to out you, because I know that you have other things going on. But do you have I mean, when you interact with people who are more MAGA minded, do you see wiggle room there, or no?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's.
Or did you mention any with the is? If there's any socialist or communist, or like sign of the devil or something. Not that you have to use those words when you're trying.
I think they're just kind of they're just kind of confused. Like, this is a species I haven't encountered before. Because there are so few leftists who are populists in the United States at this point, or
anywhere.
So
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, overall, like, right wingers right now are like more tolerant than left wingers in the U.S. Whether they're listening to me, I don't know, but it's like, it's just going to have to be like trial and error. They'll listen when they're ready, when Trump has failed, which he probably will.
And have an understanding about why that was, and how it doesn't have to be. Well, I guess that's it. Another pathway. Yeah, so I guess I would just say that, just to wrap up this part, that I want to do one more thing. I want to get into Haz's article, or not article, but his tweet. Let's see. Although I don't know, are we tired of the PMC freakout, or do you want to see the tweets that the editor of Scientific American put out yesterday? Laura Hillmuth is the executive editor, the editor-in-chief of Scientific American. I apologize to younger voters that my Gen X is so full of fucking fascists. Dude, I'm white, I'm a woman, and I'm Gen X. I'm screwed, man. Although I'm not uneducated, although they probably think I am. Solidarity to everybody whose meanest, dumbest, most bigoted high school classmates are celebrating early results, because fuck them to the moon and back. Laura Hemuth again. Every 4 years, I remember why I left Indiana, where I grew up, and remember why I respect the people who stayed and are trying to make it less racist and sexist. The moral arc of the universe isn't going to bend itself. Oh, Laura, get off the cross. Jesus. I mean, it's this thing. They must believe it. I mean, maybe that's why people like Robin DiAngelo make so much money, that there's women and other people who really believe that the majority of the country is just this rabid, racist, sexist, knuckle dragging thing. I mean, it's like, is Indiana a hellscape? I mean, dare I not go there?
Well, yeah, these people, they're on the left, and I think some of them, you know, may think that they're Marxist, but it's like they're really like classic progressives, and like classic progressives of like they've always been like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a delusion on both the left and the right in the U.S. that like someone like Woodrow Wilson was a Marxist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing kind of an article debunking that at length, but it's like classical progressivism. It kind of like comes out of like Puritanism. So there's like this.
Makes sense.
It comes out of this like you know, we're like higher level Christian Puritans, and everyone else are kind of like degenerate sinners. In you know, like in the old days, it was like, you know, Catholics, you know, and that's why the progressives put in like prohibition and stuff to like against like these Catholic degenerates who were like ruining the country and stuff. And, you know, all of the like racism and sexism would be blamed on them. So yeah, I think that's where that comes from. This kind of
Well, it's another reason why I call it, also because they will talk about how sex is not binary. So that's why I'm like, it's formally Scientific American. It's no longer Scientific American. And I think this explains a lot. I don't know. Calm down, Laura. But yeah, so we're screwed, yo. We're Gen X. We're white. So we're really to blame here. But you too, Tony, bastard. Anyway. Latino, you Latino sexist people.
Go ahead. It seems like I got this impression last night that those people
are batshit crazy.
Well, yeah, that. But I had this impression that they're unwilling to meet me halfway. They're unwilling to change. I was seeing at a point this woman earlier this year who's a Christian conservative, and she was willing to not just meet me where I was, but to actually engage and discuss things and come around. But also she was earthy. She was not
earthy.
Yeah, she was earthy. She was not.
Didn't shave? Is that what you
Well, she wasn't, you know, she
was earthy, so no deodorant, no shaving. You know, she's earthy. I mean, I don't know what that means anymore. She's earthy.
Well, she didn't have a gigantic stick up her ass. You know
as
what I mean?
opposed to astral, as opposed to cosmic. She's
You
a
know,
water sign. I'm sorry. Go.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to my feelings on this, where I've said controversially to you and to other friends here locally that woke has made us all incompatible, because in a sense it has,
Well,
like,
it's made them neurotic. I mean,
yeah,
and brittle.
It's made like those people don't realize that they've cut themselves off from everyone else, and they think that everyone else has done what they think that they're not doing, but they're the ones they themselves have cut themselves off.
Well, they probably think they're so noble for trying to save us. But what's interesting is this is an aside, but I guess the last 3, or is it the last 2? I don't know. So Saturday Night Live decided not to have Chappelle. This is how it's being sold in the media. Do the after election, this first Saturday Night Live after the election. He did the last 2 or last 3, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna have Bill Burr instead. And it's like, yeah, smart move, because I don't know if they just thought that he was too much of a wild card. But I remember this bit of his when he's talking about how brittle people are. You know, people who were complaining about, you know, either if it was the trans stuff or it was the, you know, the upset about, you know, during the whole Me Too thing, when someone would come out and voice support about Me Too, and then someone would say, oh, you know, in 1995, you grabbed my ass. And or oh, no, I remember it was about the brittle spirit. He was talking about the people, the two women who said that Louis C.K. ruined their comedy dream when he asked to masturbate in front of them. And he said, I dare say, maybe you never had a dream at all. And of course, it is weird to ask a coworker if you can masturbate in front of them, or, you know, someone you're doing a gig with. But that to the side, it's true. It's like these people. I mean, and it's also, if the shit really hits the fan, all these people who they think are sexist and racist and stupid, they'll be shit out of luck if they're not helped out. You know, it's just this enfeeblement, infantilization. I don't know if RFK is right, and it's just the stuff in the water that's made people pussies. And I don't mean that, and you know, and I'm a woman, and I don't, you know,
atrazine.
You know, but you know what I mean. I don't mean that in like the vagina, but like, you know, yeah. But it's just like, my God. I mean, I'm like, this is not. And I'm thinking, I used to think I was a bit too insensitive to my kids, and now I'm like, I should have been colder. It was just like, my God, I can't imagine. I mean, I guess I'm not in that world, but like, they don't know how to handle disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine if the ever with an election. So someone who I voted for, who I wanted to win, didn't win, and then start going crazy the next day about how we failed this candidate and why do white women hate black women, you know, and toxic masculinity. I mean, these people, it's like a cult. My God. And here's another thing about the form and the content is that you have when you talked about this, Tony, and I think this is right on, is that this isn't just the Democratic Party. This is a failure of the left, you know. Mm-hmm. And our friend Alexander McKay would say, you know, this foul brew, this toxic stew of Western Marxism, that's, you know, this anti-communist, anti-worker, this type of thing. It's like that was totally powerless. Again, freaks to the front. Any countercultural thing is somehow a left thing. All this stuff, and there's a reason why this is taking the form that it is in the United States, and it's not. And you can't just blame the CIA, and you can't just blame the FBI. I know they're not the friends, but a lot of ways the left disemboweled itself, and so. It's great, and I know this is probably why the American Communist Party that's formed now gets so much heat, because with the things that they are doing now, going from being online to trying to, you know, to set up these parties and do work in the community and whatnot, it makes the other people who've only been blah, blah, blah for the last 30 years look bad. So I think that's one of the reasons this kind of, oh, they're fascist, they're this, they're sexist, they're whatever. And it's like, yeah, has Jackson Hinkle said some things that were stupid? Yeah, but he's also like, what, 24, 25. So, you know, it doesn't make him Hitler. So calm down. You know, I can take a period joke and not want to cast him off the mountain, you know? Now, if he keeps on doing it, I'll be like, dude, but, you know, not that he cares what I think. But it's good that, but for that, that organization, and ones I may not be aware of, you know, it's certainly not that the DSA or anything like that has anything to offer the people who have been drawn to MAGA, either directly or indirectly. I would say that the left is, we'll see if they can rise to the occasion, or if there isn't anything really else on offer that would be at all appealing to the average Jane and Joe and Juanita.
I think it will, because from what I observe, the ACP seems to be staffed by working class people. I mean,
other than them, Tony.
other than
And they've got a lot of heat. Yeah, everybody wants to jump on them.
Yeah.
And I also have a couple times because the BAMs I get irritated with the BAMs. Like I'm trying to have an actual conversation with you, and if you quote Volume 1 at me, as if that in itself is an argument, I'm just like, Jesus.
The BAMs?
BAMs, born again Marxists.
Oh, gotcha.
Where's Fido?
They feel the spirit. They've read part of Capital Volume 1. They feel the spirit, and they're going to educate me. It's like, well, that's fine, but you know. So, but love, you know, it's a
mother of the horde.
It's a tough love. It's a tough love, yeah.
The mother of the horde.
Yeah. Oh, God no. But anyway, so let's see. Can one of you guys read this from Haz?
Oh, I'd love to read it I'd love to read it.
Do it, yeah. You can read it.
Yeah, genuinely left-wing Americans must understand that there is no going back to normal neoliberal politics in the United States. You are never going to restore the era of political correctness, respectability, libtard moralism, and neoliberal democracy. The more you attempt to articulate a radical politics based on restoring neoliberalism, the more you will deepen your spiral into insanity and absurdity. Attempting to restore neoliberal politics is reactionary. The leftist response to the Trump phenomena is reactionary. We are approaching a post-liberal era that is not fascism. It is the norm of the majority of humanity already. And to me, that sums it all up. Like that.
There's more, yo.
Oh, okay. So get used to it. The future of all politics, including left-wing politics, will be post-liberal. There is no going back. Stop trying to resist this fateful outcome. Take it as a basis and the foundation of a new beginning for all unorthodox and unconventional forms of politics. The reactionary form of anti-Trumpism is not left-wing. It's actually aligned with neo-Nazism globally, such as in Ukraine. Trump can be opposed and challenged on a left-wing basis, but this means giving MAGA credit where credit is due in terms of defeating the Democratic Party and neoliberalism. There is no going back.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when did the left, was the DSA ever going to do that? Please.
Hell no.
Bernie? No. AOC, Junior Pelosi, Pomo? No.
No, exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
He's right. He's right.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You know, I mean, I'm not going to be a fangirl. I'm all about ruthless critique for the greater good. And if they cut, the BAMs, and be like, look, BAM. You know. But out of, you know, it's a tough love.
Yeah.
Like I'm happier with the spirit. You know, calm down. But or they want to be like, oh, she thinks, you know, they want to get all bro with me. I'm like, go bro. Anyway. Anyway, what do you want to say to this two stuff before we laugh at Daniel Tutt and then wrap up?
I agree with all this. I just want to roll back to something you said before, and as a good populist, I've got to put a word in for conspiracy theories and push back on what you said about it's not all the fault of the CIA and the FBI. I think
you got to point. Really, it's not. None of it's the left. None of it's Western Marxism. None of it's subjectivity and
but there's a major carrot and stick operation in the mid 20th century where the FBI
who put the carrot and
crushed the communist parties and crushed the Black Panthers, while the CIA and the Ford Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation funded the academic Western Marxists.
That's not going to change, Garrett. So what's your plan?
I'm just saying that's how we got here. Never forget that.
Well, I don't think it's okay.
And the people we're dealing with are shaped by those circumstances.
That's true. I'm not saying it's not a factor. I'm just saying that to be like, but for the CIA, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in is, you know, kind of convenient. Not to say that I am aware of what their mandate is. And that they're very, you know, I'm aware of that, but I think that it's just all that what are you going to do about it? That's not going to change. So, you know, I mean, it's also, I don't know if you can blame all of what's happened since World War II on the CIA. How do you do that?
What?
How don't you think you're giving too much credit to the CIA?
How can you do that? They won the Cold War.
Yeah, but no, but I'm saying that the idea that again, I'm talking about. It's important to do self-critique and ruthless critique of the left, and you can only get so far by pointing the finger at the CIA. I'm not saying that they aren't that they haven't been actively focused on undermining any actual meaningful left from getting on the ground on various fronts. I mean, that is their mission. But
Well,
I'm just saying that is like, well, it's like, is it? I mean, how is that going to change?
I don't know. I have a perhaps naive belief in history, and that the purpose of learning history is not to repeat it. So I bring up these things to make people aware of how,
infiltration,
how they're being gamed by these kind of things.
Okay, that's different. I didn't understand you then. I apologize. I thought you were saying like, well, the CIA kind of ruined everything. I'm like, well, they're going to do that though. So. But if you're saying we have to be savvy to the various ways that movements can be undermined and pitted against each other and all this stuff, of course, yeah. I would be stupid to say that, even though as far as I know, the CIA has never come after me because sadly I'm no threat. I'd like to be a threat, not in a violent way. People who are listening. Okay, so I take it back, Garrett. I mischaracterized what you were saying.
That's okay.
That's thank you.
Well, they've come after you.
They've me, man.
They've probably come after you, through the DSA or something. DSA recruiting materials.
They'd offer me a professorship or something like, hey, come back.
That's what they do.
You don't have to put pronouns in your bio anymore. We don't think you're not a team player anymore. It's like, okay. Anyway, Daniel Tutt. We know Daniel Tutt. Yeah, he was the guy who we know Daniel Tutt. He's a friend of the show, and he wouldn't say so, but he's a common target because he's a very nice man, but he's he went on Hazelden's thing and basically gave this whole monologue about basically checking all the boxes to make sure that he wouldn't be canceled for going and talking to the father of the horde. Anyway, he posted this yesterday. Who wants to do Daniel Tutt? Can you do an aristocratic? Even though he wants to make it very clear he's working class, although he talks like Nietzsche, I think would talk if he
has a half French accent.
Yeah. I just want to say,
from hanging around with that dude.
Yeah. Who's going to do a Daniel Tutt here?
Garrett.
My father actually says this shit. The fact he has absorbed this nonsense just indicates to me that Trumpism is now pure mockery. I think it's over.
And so Daniel Tutt, who types to their dad "Happy Election Day" with an exclamation point? And
was
his dad writes back,
was he expecting him to vote Democrat?
I don't know. He writes "Happy Election Day," which is weird. It's weird. It's like you're asking. I think he wanted this. He wanted to be able to. He baited his dad
to generate content.
Yeah. Same to you. May the commies lose. Go Trump.
Yeah.
And I have to dig into him because he thinks I'm like a fascist transphobe because I'm not a sex denialist. He's and I don't think it's empowering for there to be male women. Anyway, but so I wrote something like, did you explain to him that Trump's the father of the horde figure and that he makes sex try? But you got a fair amount of likes, since we're in that business. And then he tweets later. Go ahead, Garrett.
My dad sent me a photo of him and his girlfriend both wearing trash bags at a polling place. He wrote, "Trash wins." So yeah, I think culture war identity politics was a catastrophic mistake all around.
Do you, Daniel? And it's like, where did identity politics spawn from?
Yeah.
Unless you want to go back all the way to racism, which of course, fine, it's a racial ideology, fine. But it's just so hilarious. Like, you're the dude who will say trans women are women, and if the people don't go about it are like transphobic, but whatever. So I wrote back something like, "Your dad sounds based." I like someone I can have a beer with, and I bet he knows that there's I bet he knows there's no such thing as male women or something like that. But it's like, why? And it's so hilarious to me. It's like, dude, you can't even mobilize your fucking dad. You can't even reach your dad.
Posting your L's.
Yeah, it's like, hey man, I'm sure that next Deleuzian whatever reading group you have will really build bridges. And nothing wrong with that. I love the reading groups. Whatever. But it's like, dude, it's just like, and it's also trying to be like, he's trying to cover his bases now. He sees which way the winds are blowing. Oh, everybody was guilty of identity politics. It's like, dude, you have like, I don't know. I think, to quote Zizek at him, it's like he lacks the language to be able to articulate his particular form of unfreedom. Stockholm syndrome. I mean, we watched that thing, his intro, his speech that he made, his opening salvo, when he kind of like listed all this stuff, and it was so clear what he was doing is that and he even said that, some people were upset that he was going to go and talk to him, and he talked about how his gay friends were crying.
Yeah, I remember that. We did that.
And I'm like, if a tweet's gonna make you cry, that's their problem. That's not everybody else's. Like, calm down. It's like, how excited about gay sex do we have to be? I want to know. Or whatever else, whatever kink it is, or not the gay. I don't want to say that. Not that that's a kink. But everyone has kinks. But it's this idea that somehow, if we're not totally excited about every sexuality that comes down the pike, somehow we're somehow not good leftists. I'm just like, Daniel, please take a seat. But I thought this was hilarious that it's like, why post this? Is he trying to get sympathy?
I just think he is what he is.
I'm like, Dad sounds cool to me, man.
I don't know if we can ever do an episode.
I'm team Daddy Tut. I'm all King Dad Tut.
Right. I think, and I've kind of I've talked to you about this in private, and you kind of touched upon it when you had your episode with that woman. But I'm just gonna
that woman.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be.
That woman.
Yeah. I'm just going to be frank and blunt. I think it goes back to kind of bluntly what I've been saying. Like, these guys don't have any balls. I'm sorry. Like, these guys don't have any moxie.
Tut for these guys. Tut would say that these are women, and that, yeah. But identity politics all around.
Why is that man wearing a skirt?
Yeah. Anyway.
No, seriously. Like,
it's the Emperor's new skirt.
Yeah. Like,
Emperor's new skirt.
Was he a United
States?
States?
One's a trans woman and one's a non-binary. One's a they, them.
Wait, wasn't
and one's a she, her now. And even though he has a wife and kids and all this, we all know that what makes a woman is putting on a woman outfit.
Even the pantyhose. I mean,
James transphobe. Shush. Anyway,
that was a grandpa dressing like that. Like, what the heck? Like,
hey, that's another story.
Yeah.
But anyway, I have to put that on again because I love Daniel. He's good for the comedy, but not intentionally. I mean. And again, who writes their dad? This is like, he wanted this. It's like, who writes their dad? Like, he obviously knows his dad's politics. Who writes your dad Who writes anybody happy election day?
Right.
Happy election day. It's like he seems very gay to me. He's a gay straight man. Daniel Tutt is the quintessential gay straight man.
But that's exactly what I've been saying, though. Like that in private, right? In our private conversations, like that's exactly what I've been saying. Like,
I don't know. Maybe RFK is right. Maybe there's been like a considered effort to like reduce the testosterone or something. I don't know.
There must be.
And Alex
Have you
Jones.
been tested, Garrett? What's your T level?
Toxic.
I'm asking. Yeah, is it toxic? Yeah. What's your masculinity level? Is it toxic, Anthony, or is it just right?
I think by now it's fully toxic from how I'm being perceived by people.
Because I think my son is OGing now on it, but that's a different story. Yeah, I know it's his beard's finally coming in. He's a crazy man, but anyway, that's a different story. 18 finally has to shave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, congratulations. I hope he doesn't hear that. He'll be mad. Anyway, yeah, but I just love this because it was so. I love that I was able to say. Did you explain to him that Trump is a father of the horde figure and makes sex and tweets sex and does tweets that make sex mimics cry? Have you tried that, Daniel? Oh my God. Anyway, so before we wrap up here, what do you think is going to happen? So far, it's been fairly conciliatory. I mean, the people are freaking out, and the media is trying to play their greatest hits, but not many people watch them anymore. Mm-hmm. Do you guys think that they'll try anything else between now and inauguration, or do you think they realize the ship is sailed because the defeat was so pronounced that they can't challenge it?
Garrett?
I mean, they kind of threw everything but the kitchen sink at Trump.
Wait, say that again.
So, what do you think? Do you think it's going to calm down now, or do you think they're going to try to the people that were obviously the whole apparatus, most of the apparatus of power, political and economic and media in particular, tried to make Kamala happen.
Yeah, yeah. I guess.
And
I mean,
do you think they're just going to be like, okay, well, what can we do? Because they have a window now because he's not in power yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to, do you foresee any shenanigans, or do you think they'll be like, oh, it's cool?
I don't know. I mean, I've heard that there's some organizing. Like I've seen emails floating around.
Is there going to be another pussy hat march or something? Could be.
Possibly. I should have sent you the meme about the liberal January 6th. Did you see that?
Oh God, no.
It's pretty. It's pretty funny. But
yeah, I have to admit that I'm a bit embarrassed about how much I've been enjoying the Schadenfreude. I didn't realize how irritated I was with the PMC and the Dems and all this stuff. I didn't realize. I was just like, people are gonna. I don't care. And you critique it, and people are so binary, they automatically think, "Oh, you're a white wing," or blah blah blah. I'm not. This is hilarious. I mean, given what the world is like, we got to take our laughs where we can. Yeah, I mean, it's hilarious. Have you seen those pics of people crying? This is the thing now. What is this a thing? It's some of that sort of social contagion, which one person started to cry and freak out about Trump winning. Now they're all going to do it. I can't believe it. I can't believe. I'm all, what is happening? And they still, in their distraught state, especially the white women, and their distraught state, they still manage to say all the right things. Like, I'm not worried about me. And here's where the non-racist racism comes in. I'm a white woman. I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about all these. It's like, can you stop? I mean, it's amazing. But yeah. again, it's I was surprised. I wasn't surprised at all for them to blame white men and then white women. But when they threw in all the other people who didn't vote, they start saying, "I'm going to be excited when I see people deporting your relatives." I mean, that's some mask off shit.
Yeah, they could declare a pandemic before the
That's true.
before January 20th. Keep an eye out for that.
What do you think, Tony? You're in a different place. Well, you guys are both in blue quote unquote blue states, though. So what do you think? Do you think there's going to be more intrigue?
No.
Are they going to try to do everything they can to have a self-fulfilling prophecy where Trump and MAGA is concerned?
No, not at all. I actually was talking about this with my friend Ashley earlier this morning, and her and I both agreed that life is just going to go back to just being life. Everything is just going to go back to being smooth. I don't think they're going to invalidate their own system as we've.
Did you not see that tweet about how everything died yesterday?
Right. But I think at the most, because they're only capable of conversation anyway. So at the most, all they're going to do is just come together and cry, and then the next day they'll go back to their jobs and whatever the hell else they do.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because this couple of people like Bette Midler canceled her X account. And now people are, and I have to say that I'm not all over, like I'm not saying what Cat Turd is tweeting out, but just the regular people like trying to do like the wellness check jokes. Like, has anyone checked on De Niro? Is he heading to Canada? And it has Bono started his trek to drive off the cliff and all this stuff. These people who was like, and I'm like, who's been rounded up yet? Yeah, weren't all these people supposed to be rounded up? Weren't Maddow and all these quote unquote journalists, when they supposed to be rounded up and taken to some sort of MAGA re-education camp? I was promised a roundup. Where is it? Anyway, I blame the Hispanic men. What about you, Garrett?
Yeah.
But I will never blame Black Santa because I love that movie. 1, 2, Trump's coming for you. 3, 4, you won't win no more. 5, 6, the election was fixed. 7, 8, no. That guy, oh my God. There's another funny one. Oh, should we watch the guy who
invite that guy to the inauguration?
Yeah, they should have. Can we watch one more greatest hit before we leave?
Sure.
Okay, thanks, Garrett. Thank you for enabling me. Let me see if I can do this again. I need to find my screen. Oh yeah, I'm already there. This guy, Garrett and I have already seen this man, but he's fantastic. Let's see.
At this damn point, this a full-fledged comedy fucking movie. Your vice president just got on live television yesterday and said even though she's been studying and debating all this motherfucking time and she's been in office all this fucking time, she still gotta go study the goddamn policies again before she give you a direct answer. Before she ever tell you anything, she gotta go study that shit again while she fucking in office. You can't make this cartoon-ass movie shit up. You can't make this shit up. This bitch is retarded. She don't answer questions. Every last one of y'all that's following this bitch is retarded. And they're gonna keep going gaslight you, talk about the lesser of two evils. Well, the lesser of two can fucking complete a fucking sentence. Can answer one fucking question. One. I'm asking for one fucking answer to anything. This bitch go all the way around. All we know about is she was a middle-class fucking child, and we did it, Joe. That's all the fuck we know about this bitch.
And one more. It was hilarious. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. Mute mic. No, I'm gonna find one more. Oh no. oh, Garrett, should we do Billy Eichmann?
Who's that?
Billy Eichmann. Remember him?
Yeah.
Or no? Was he not that funny? He was sad. Death of
They're all
America.
kind of sad.
Yeah.
The comedians are extremely sad.
yeah, they're sad. Let's see. I want to find this. I hope I can find. I'm mad enough. No, crap. Sorry. It's all the greatest hits here. Oh, where'd it go? Sorry. Go ahead and talk, guys. We're wrapping up. Bro time. Share your feelings.
Well, right now, actually, I've been looking at Garrett's Substack on my phone, so I've been reading or looking at some of your articles. But
geez, multitasking.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Let's look at the Hitler dance.
I was all erectile. Oh, he didn't go play with it.
Yeah.
He didn't go play with it? Wait, this is real?
It's like the Weimar Republic, 1938.
That's hilarious.
Okay. That was so funny. I mean, maybe he's just playing the long game. But yeah, I don't have many illusions, but he does make me laugh.
He's
Anyway. And it was, did you see I watched part of because it went on forever, but the speech, I think it was last night, the night before, I can't remember anymore. And he finally got around to talking about RFK Jr. And he told him, he has lots of ideas. And I told him, I said, Bobby, leave the black gold alone. Do whatever you want. Go for it. Do whatever you need to do. But don't talk about, basically, don't talk about anything environmentally concerning about drill, baby, drill. That's what he was saying. And people are like, Fauci, where's Fauci?
He's pretty upfront about that.
Be afraid, be very afraid. Thanks, Keith. See you next time. All right. So that's it. That's the red. Is
that it? Hello?
I took everybody off. It was just Garrett.
Still here, but
you're still here. I'm sorry.
I should go soon.
Yeah, me too. We're gonna wrap up right now. So yeah, that's the red election. So Trump has won the White House decisively. He won all the battleground states. There was a map on, I don't know if it was CNN, one of those things. And they had the touch screen, and they wanted to see if there was any district or county, I guess it'd be county, where Kamala got more votes than Biden, and there wasn't one. Because we're all racist and sexist. As if Barack Obama wasn't elected twice. Yeah, so and they have the House and the Senate and the court. Well, the court, kind of, it's a conservative court. We'll see. We'll see what kind of
The Handmaid's Tale.
Right.
Coming through.
Yeah. That's true. We'll see what happens, but you're still there. The lights are still on. The zombie apocalypse hasn't happened, even though
I'm going to have 5 wives in a couple of months.
You are, man. The patriarchy is and that's what I heard on CNN or MSNBC. The patriarchy is reascendant, and the manosphere is back. And I just hope you guys remember that I was always on your side.
Yes.
I never once said toxic masculinity. unironically. I want that to be known. Okay. While you reassert your authority. Well, see, the lights are still on, and so we'll check in with you guys with the next time, because we need to have Garrett back on to talk about his Bruce Springsteen article. We're going to do that. So anything you want to...
males.
That's right.
Good men.
He has a great... You should read that article, Tony, because he has a thing where he talks about proletarian drag.
Oh, Jeff.
That was a great line. That our Garrett, he knows how to write a sentence. Okay, so anything you'd like to tell any of the people we saw? Do you want to make your case for... do you want to apologize on behalf of your sex and ethnic group? Is there anything you want to say, Tony? Anything you want to say for yourself?
You need to go shave. That's all I'm going to say. I need to go shave.
Garrett, are you feeling any guilt?
I'm holding myself accountable.
There you go. There you go. We don't want to see the self-flagellation going on. I'm sure he is. It's going to be a SWAT for every swing state that Kamala lost for a good couple months until freedom rings again. All right, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Keep hope alive. I hope the lights are on tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let me know what happens to De Niro.
Well, yeah, we'll let you know if New York and New Jersey secede from the Union.
Oh, yeah, that could be another thing. There's going to be succession talk now. We can't live with these people.
Oh, geez.
There's a lot of talk about that in like 2017, California seceding.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It was called, what was it called? California Exit or something? Something.
Yeah,
like
yeah. Cal Exit.
We're out of here. We're out of here, man. Okay. Tony. Bye, Garrett.
All right, you guys have a beautiful day and night, huh?
You as well. Take care.
All right.
All right. So that was our 3-hour US Game of Thrones, the Red Election recap. Please do like and subscribe, and we will be back soon with another episode focusing on our morbid symptoms and what they portend. Please do like and subscribe. See you next time.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people.
Has been, you know, what can be unburdened by what has been. 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 What we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been. What 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 can be unburdened by what has been. Who we can be unburdened by who we have been. What can be unburdened by what has been. Where we can be unburdened by where we have been, and unburdened by where we are right now. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What could be unburdened by what had been.